Virginia's Shenandoah Valley. On the horizon, the reddish knob of Shenandoah Mountain. A perfect day for a fall drive, see the colors, soak up some history, like visiting James Madison, father of the Constitution and mother of college game day crowds. Oh, have they waited for this? The Dukes may be off college football's beaten path, but they're off to the best start in school history. One of the nation's most prolific offenses in any division, and this day might be the biggest day for James Madison since he helped broker the Louisiana Purchase. The third-ranked Dukes welcome a homecoming crowd, but somewhere in the midst, there are spiders wildly spinning an upset web. It is the only top 15 matchup in all of Division I right here in Harrisonburg. James Madison and Richmond right here for College Game Day.
ESPN College Game Day. We're coming to your city.
With Reese Corso, Des, David, and Kirk, you know ESPN is putting in that work. Like fourth and goal, get ready to play. It's College Game Day. And we're coming to your city. If you want a little bang in your yin yang, if you want a little bang in your tang tang tang, if you want a little chang in your chang chang, come along, come along, come along, yeah, yeah, we're coming.
College Game Day, live from Harrisonburg, Virginia, is built by the Home Depot. Proud sponsor of college football's premier pregame show.
This is one of the hidden gems in college football. James Madison University in Harrisonburg. That is Bridgeport Stadium. A raucous homecoming crowd will greet rival Richmond this afternoon, squaring off in the chase for a Colonial Championship, and both teams have aspirations of following what they've done in the past by winning championships. Perennial playoff team. Remember, James Madison back in 2004 taking down Montana 31-21 to give the Dukes the national championship, and then 4 years later, much to the chagrin of our new best friends behind us, it was Richmond beating Montana 24-7, both of the programs with a national championship heritage. The Vad the Impaler sign referencing Duke quarterback Vad Lee, the former Georgia Tech quarterback, who is now putting up ridiculous numbers for this offense under Everett Withers. And they'll be challenged today by a Spider team that does things a little bit more methodically. You know, this stop has been on the radar for several weeks, and then the stars aligned just right with Texas A&M, Ole Miss, USC all going down, and it was the perfect opportunity to come and showcase what has been an unbelievable welcome here so far. Glad to have you with us this morning. You know everybody. Desmond Howard, Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit. I'm Reese Davis. Kirk, in all of these stories back here, there are a lot of individual ones, too. I met a woman this morning, JMU graduate, teaching in Spain, found out we were coming. There she is. That's Margot. She teaches English in Spain. She started an internet funding campaign, and in less than a day had money for her fare to come over to be part of this. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it is. You know, every week we travel around the country, we see all these great sites, and, you know, we've gone to Fargo in the past. That stood out to us. And Fargo, to me, is they always kind of set the bar.
Yeah.
But the folks here at JMU, they may be catching up to that scene. This might be one of the best scenes we've had. This is awesome. And, Lee, you said per capita, maybe the most signs we've ever had.
It looks like it did.
Yeah.
It looks like they may break a record, but JMU is giving the NFL some special players.
Yeah.
One of my favorite teammates, pound for pound, one of the toughest players I ever played with, Gary Clark, wide receiver from the Washington Redskins, and then Charles Haley. We went to the College Football Hall of Fame together in 2010. JMU guys.
Hey, is that right?
Yes, sir.
I'm excited about it here to be home of the Duke Dogs.
That's
The
right.
Duke Dogs, yes. Because it gives me an opportunity to introduce a former player of mine, one of my favorites, who was born and raised in this town. His name, Howard Stevens. He's the best back I ever had. He's the first back in the history of college football to make 5,000 yards in his career. Wow.
He
spent 5 years in the pros. And the most proud of Howard is this. He's a good family man. He married his high school sweetheart, Joyce. They've been married 43 years. He has 3 children, 5 grandchildren.
All right.
I'm proud of you, Howard Stevens, wherever you are.
There it is.
There he is, right there. He's the best back I ever had.
That's
right there, Howard
something. That's awesome.
He's had a lot of great ones, and welcome to Howard, and welcome to everybody, and welcome to you at home. And Kirk, maybe people wonder the magnitude of this game. This is a high-level game that we'll see here in FCS. Several FCS games worthy of attention.
Yeah, I mean, you have number 12 against number 3, and if you've watched these teams, you know about it. It's a contrast in styles. Richmond's doing it with defense. They are able to create a lot of turnovers. That'll have to be on display today to give them a chance to compete, because Vad Lee is getting it done. If you like TCU football, that's who JMU is. He can run, he can throw, and he can score.
How about Illinois State at Western Illinois? Watch out for this guy, the Redbirds quarterback, Trey Roberson. He's a dual-threat quarterback, transferred from Indiana. Now, he's dealing with a hand injury, but look, don't let that fool you. He threw for a season-high 304 yards a week ago. He's going to be dangerous today.
And how about Princeton at Harvard? The Crimsons won 19 in a row. Only Ohio State has a longer winning streak in Division I. Scott Hush, the quarterback, going for his 11th straight win as a starter. But Princeton can run the ball, too. Second-ranked running game in the Ivies. They try to bookend this Harvard winning streak. They are the last team to beat the Crimson, and they'll try to do so again in Cambridge this afternoon. So the FCS coaches poll, the current top 10, James Madison sitting at 3rd, Richmond 12th.
Look at our Bison, and with 2 losses all the way down at 8. Even Eastern Washington with 2 losses still in the top 8.
You know, one of the things that might mean is that we're going to have a new king or a new duke, who knows, winning a national championship by the end of the season in the FCS. Also, I know Coastal Carolina, like Ohio State, in the state of New Jersey today. Coastal Carolina takes on Monmouth, but there are also some games that we ought to keep an eye on at the FBS level, too.
Yeah, you got the Texas A&M at Ole Miss. Both teams coming off a loss. It was painfully obvious a week ago that the Aggies could not stop the run. They're 12th in the conference against the run. And, hey, Ole Miss quarterback Chad Kelly, he struggled against the Gators defense. And I'm telling you, Deshaun Hall and Myles Garrett, they're going to get after him today, Kirk.
Another SEC game, Tennessee and Alabama. This Alabama defense, one of the best that Nick Saban's had, running around. Now, Josh Dobbs is going to be a key. Not just throwing, but can he create and run? I think Bama's found an identity. They're running the ball right now with Derrick Henry, taking the pressure off of Jake Coker. More play-action passes today for Coker against the Vols.
Number 1, Ohio State at Rutgers. Ezekiel Elliott has had 13 straight games with at least 100 yards rushing dating back to last season. J.T. Barrett scored 2 touchdowns last week, and he is terrific. That's a tough combination for Rutgers to stop.
Brandon Miller making that grab. Utah and USC. Devontae Booker is the biggest workhorse in the country. 27 carries per game. Leads the nation in getting first downs on 3rd or 4th. Now, USC's rush defense has been gashed. 4 straight 100-yard rushers. Yet, the Trojans are favored. Utah's the highest-ranked team to be an underdog to an unranked opponent in 20 years.
Clemson and Miami at noon. Early kick down there in Miami. Two of the best quarterbacks in the ACC. Brad Kaya, a guy who's really smart, poised, great awareness, and takes care of the ball. And Deshaun Watson. This guy right here, he makes great decisions with the ball in his hand, checks out the right plays. I think this is going to be a great matchup down there in Miami.
Another ACC matchup. How about Dalvin Cook? And he's been dealing with this hammy for about the last 3 weeks. Jimbo Fisher continues to say he's okay. It was just tweaked. But keep an eye on number 4, one of the best backs in the country. When is Georgia Tech going to wake up and get it done on offense? Remember, Charles Kelly, a former Georgia Tech defensive coach, very familiar with how to try to defend that option attack.
He also had some time in the offseason. They sprung it on him last year a little bit, but didn't know they were going to play until the ACC championship game. Big favorites in the AP top 10 on this day. You see a bunch of double-digit teams ranked in the top 10, but it is worth noting in a historical context that when College Game Day takes a little detour off that beaten path, teams on the path end up getting beat. Remember when you guys went to Fargo last year, a couple of top 10 teams went down. Back to Amherst and Williams in 07, number 1 Ohio State went down. There's some opportunities. You mentioned one of the teams in Georgia Tech. For teams who have underachieved to turn their seasons around, teams like Georgia Tech, Tennessee, USC, among some of them.
And sometimes as a coach, you're looking for a carrot. You're looking for something to motivate a team that maybe hasn't quite lived up to expectations, and that's just it. Hey, guys, this is an opportunity and a game that can help us turn this season around. Why not go out and try to get a big win today? USC's coming off a heartbreaking loss last week in South Bend to Notre Dame. Now they're back home, 3-3, favored over Utah. Lee will talk about that. Somebody knows something I don't know. I'm going and then the other thing, A&M and Ole Miss, 2 teams as well. Last week, disappointing losses. I don't know if people realize Ole Miss still controls its own destiny. So they lost last week to Memphis out of conference. They do have 1 loss in conference. But as disappointing as that feels, they still control their own destiny.
Everybody, all of the SEC haters, biggest Ole Miss fans in the world, because that's the easiest way to get the SEC out of the playoffs.
If they went out, you're right. They would be left out.
Yeah, it sure seems that way. Des, what are you looking at today?
Look at the ACC, particularly the Atlantic Division. This looks like Florida State and Clemson. They're on a collision course now. 2 tricky games today. Clemson, they're playing Miami, and Florida State, they got Georgia Tech. Very tricky games, but if they win today, I think both their next games are very winnable. Florida State, they have to play Syracuse, and you got Clemson against North Carolina State. Then after that, those 2 teams will meet. That's going to be a big game in Atlantic to see who's going to represent the Atlantic in the ACC championship game. And in Waco, keep an eye on the weather in Waco. It seems like Hurricane Patricia will give them a lot of rain and hurricane-type winds. Maybe that 60-point streak is in jeopardy for Baylor's offense. Yeah,
but let me give you some facts about the Duke Dogs. Yeah, the Duke Dogs. Hey, number 1, they have won 14 straight regular season games. Their no-huddle offense leads the nation in total offense. Their defense got their first shutout last week in 7 years. And listen to this, tonight is a sellout. A sellout. Congratulations, Duke Dogs.
Is that a little bit of an early lead of what we might see in a little less than 3 hours now? Are you leaning already or not?
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
slightly.
A little lead.
Duke Dogs.
It's not just the FCS games that we talked about that are getting some attention at the lower levels of college football today. Later on, Mount Union will go for its 100th consecutive regular season victory when they take on Wilmington. That has a remarkable run, though the Purple Raiders haven't won the championship of late. Keenan Reynolds can become the all-time rushing touchdown scorer when Navy takes on Tulane. He needs a big day in that one. And let's not forget the Baker Mayfield Bowl, too. Oklahoma and Texas Tech, some bad blood when Mayfield transferred away. Baker's dad calling Cliff Kingsbury a scoundrel at one point. I think it's lessened a little bit. It's lessened a little bit. It cost Baker a year of eligibility, so that's worth keeping an eye on. There'll probably be some intensity in Norman this afternoon. You know, while we have this opportunity, as you see this great scene of College Game Day behind us, we want to thank some people who this week parted ways with ESPN. Many of those people throughout this show's history were instrumental in building this into what it is, and we are grateful to all of you. Your contributions are on display each and every week, and we salute you for that. I was going to say that this edition of College Game Day is dedicated to all of those people who left our company. All of the editions of College Game Day are dedicated to your tireless efforts. Thank you, and we salute you. Getting a big salute here. This is a remarkable turnout. They were here all night. They want to see their team. They're going to hear from their coach in just a little while, Everett Withers. He'll be here to join us on College Game Day. And still to come on this beautiful October morning, a remarkable comeback at Miami. How Hunter Knighton worked his way back on the field after spending 2 weeks in a coma. And why being embraced by his teammates gave Princeton's Mason Darrow the courage to become college football at Division I level's only openly gay player. The making of a miracle. Wait till you hear how we witnessed the Michigan State play against Michigan. The most unlikely victory of the season kept Sparty perfect. College Game Day rolling from Harrisonburg.
College Game Day is built by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. And in part by Quicksilver from Capital One. Earn unlimited 1.5% cash back every purchase, every day.
Just another day in the life of Bobby the bus driver. Hey, that College Game Day bus built by the Home Depot in there. No, that's not Bobby. No, that's He would do it. He would do it. And on Thursday, he got the streamer treatment and the welcome here in Harrisonburg as he brought in the College Game Day bus. Today's aerial coverage is provided by Goodyear. Kick off your drive with tires that return superior performance. Goodyear, more driven. I think that we're not going to have any problems finding Cheez It Real fans with the Cheez It Real fan cam. No. I said yesterday this was going to be.
He gets the game ball today.
This is the game ball?
Game ball. MVP today, the Cheez It cam.
There are tremendous signs out there. You know, Richmond's irritated that they're the homecoming opponent, and there are plenty of signs to irritate Todd McShay.
Yes, there is.
Todd's big here. Let me show that a little bit. Fans seated in Section 0 get the best seat in the house, brought to you by Coke Zero, because some of them get a great look at the Dukes of James Madison. Everett Withers, it's a tradition. He has his team walk the quad on game.
I think it's cool to have your team come out on a night game. I'm surprised we don't see more of that. How great would that be as a player to come out here and feel this energy?
I want to see Herbstreit walk the crowd.
I want to see Urban have his team walk.
Hey, next time you talk to Urban and Nick,
bring that the boys out.
Take a little stroll around campus.
Not going to happen.
No.
Good. David Pollock joins us now. A tremendous crowd out here, but you're already fixated on the competitive aspect of our show, aren't you?
Yeah, I've already been out here and done a sports center, and then I come back and Bears board's already changed.
Oh, man.
Really?
Changed? Yeah, you put another team up there, Missouri and Vanderbilt. I didn't see that up there earlier. I thought it was.
No, it's been up there all day. Yesterday it wasn't when we did that other segment, but it's up there right now.
He had a late flight. It was a mess.
Hey, no, I didn't have a late flight. I had a long drive. I had a late flight.
How's your record on this? How's your record?
Dead even on that board right there, 10-10. But I'm going to have my agent over there give me the positive.
It's a big week for him on the board, but to his credit, what is it, your column?
Yeah.
Column, what are you doing?
30-16.
30-16.
Finally had a losing week last week. It had to happen.
Against a number, 30-16. Hey, you just got to get this board going.
Will you pick that top game? Let's go ahead and get that one out of the way, because that one's not very appetizing.
I think Derek Mason in Vanderbilt gets his first SEC win today. Missouri since the middle of September, 116th in the country in offense.
Yep, exactly.
Kansas is 120th. That's how bad Missouri's offense has been. Vandy's been competitive in every game this year. We're going to anchor down here with the old Commodores.
Will either team score 3 points? That spread's a little high.
We're going to have it'll be more than 3-0 like that BC Wake game a couple weeks ago. Maybe 10-9.
Bear, we have what the over-under in that game is 34.5. Oh, are they planning to play a doubleheader?
I was going to say 8 quarters might not be good enough to get to 34.
Are you taking the under?
Yeah.
You can't take the over. What's Missouri's score? 9, 3, 12 the last couple of games? The Vandy defense, by the way, held Western Kentucky to 14. That's a good defense.
Yeah, real good defense.
D is balling.
Yeah.
So the Bears made one of the picks trying to get over 500 on the board, but he is giving the people what they want, as a good friend of ours, Jalen Rose, likes to say, in terms of the columns. So you'll want to check that out. In Atlanta today, the term rambling wreck has never been more apt for Georgia Tech. 5 straight losses, no wins against Power 5 teams, and Paul Johnson staring at his first 6-game loser since his first year at Navy. That team went 2-10. They take on Florida State, and the last 3 meetings have been thrillers. You go back to 2009, Josh Nesbitt finding Demarius Thomas, and the Nesbitt doing it on the ground. And Georgia Tech went into the Doak, and that's how long it's been. Beat Bobby Bowden 49-44. At that time, Jackets ranked. FSU was not. 2012, James Wilder Jr. knifing through that Yellow Jacket defense, and they gave a little problem to Tevin Washington. Look at Carlos Williams on defense back then before he moved to running back.
That's
Georgia
right.
Tech won
last year in the ACC championship.
Last year, you got a good look at this one, Kurt.
Yeah, Georgia Tech gave Florida State all they could handle before they eventually got into the Final Four. It took another Jameis Winston comeback, but it took Jimbo Fisher and the Knowles to the very end until they were able to secure victory.
Georgia Tech had an 11-win season, just 2 points away from that ACC championship. But boy, what a far cry this edition of the Jackets are so far. It's never just one thing. But the Jackets' offensive problems exemplified by the QBR slide of Justin Thomas. That's a quarterback rating. He has the largest slide among all qualified quarterbacks. On the flip side, the Seminoles' Everett Golson's also done an about-face. Remember when he was a turnover machine for Notre Dame? He hasn't coughed it up a single time, interception or fumble, all season long. Only quarterback in the country with 150 plays or more and no turnovers. Jimbo Fisher, pleased with that. He's with Quint Testnet.
Coach, how do you balance Dalvin's productivity with the fact that in the last 3 games he has pulled up with an injured hamstring?
He really hasn't pulled. It's just been tight. And we monitor it every day with our GPS. He feels his body. We know exactly his accelerations, his decelerations, everything that goes on. So we monitor all week in practice, the amount of work, and he has a great feel for it. So it's been perfect so far.
Triple option, obviously you have to play assignment football, but the threat of play action, and Georgia Tech takes shots. What's most important when defending their passing game?
Eye discipline. I mean, looking at what you're supposed to look at, and the people who are responsible for it have to key it and not get their eyes taken off of it. And that's what they do. They do it so much. They run that option, all of a sudden they get everybody falling in and slip a guy down the seam or down the sideline. Our eye discipline is going to be critical.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Jimbo, Quint, thank you. As I alluded to a moment ago, look at the number of plays Everett Golson's had without turning it over. He had a turnover every 25 plays last year when he was quarterbacking at Notre Dame. But one of the things that really helps Everett Golson is to have that cat Dalvin Cook. Florida State is watching him closely. They've MRI'd. It's just a mild strain on the hamstring. But he's responsible for 83% of their rushing yards, by far the most, and he's been electrifying.
And Leonard Fournette is the most physically gifted back in college football with his size and his ability to break tackles. I mean, he's just a freak show. Dalvin Cook is the best make-you-miss back in college football. He's electric. He's dynamic. He's been out of the last big games. The Wake Forest game, he pulls up with a hammy. Louisville pulls up with a hammy. Miami, and he's toughed it out. This guy, he should be in the top 3 in the Heisman right now. Definitely. Dalvin Cook is carrying Florida State on his back. That's why I think Florida State's going to continue to roll because of him.
He's so explosive, you know, and he catches the ball out of the backfield. They do a really good job of using him. But that hammy, as much as they're downplaying him, when you have a hammy that's tweaked like that, every week he comes up lame, you just hope he's able to hold on. You just hope that there's going to be a game where they can get him some rest, because right now, as David said, they're putting him on their back. This game concerns me for Florida State. We got Clemson coming up, and the focus of this team will be tested this week, because they can't look at Georgia Tech as a team that's lost a bunch of games in a row and they're not clicking. Now, if you look at it just on paper, Florida State should win this game. Right. But it's just a matter of time until Justin Thomas and Georgia Tech can give you fits. And next thing you know, you're trying to tackle the fullback and they're going play action and throwing over top of you. They ran for 331 last year against Florida State in that ACC championship game. I like Florida State to win this game, but I hope Dalvin Cook I'm with David. They need to keep that cat healthy.
Yeah, well, you know, speaking from experience, I've had a hamstring injury before, and it's just something that during the season at this point, you just got to play with it. It's not going to get any better. You just don't want it to get any worse. And so in Dalvin Cook, he's proven that he can go out there on one leg and put up about 220, which is what I think he's going to do against Georgia Tech's defense. Their issue is when you look at the conference rankings, total defense, scoring defense, Georgia Tech, they're bottom dwellers. And it comes against the rush, they're 13th in the ACC. So I think that Florida State will win this game. Georgia Tech, their offense just can't get going. It seems like since the Notre Dame game, Brian Van Gorder put the blueprint out on how to stop that defense, Everyone has followed suit and stopped that offense.
I think today is not just about Florida State and Georgia Tech. It's about Florida State. No one's talking about them as a contender in the four. The table was set for them. And that offensive line, they broke 4 new offensive linemen in. Everett Golson, we all talk about the lack of turnovers. Jimbo Fisher deserves a lot of credit for the system that he's put Everett Golson in. Guy knew Notre Dame and Brian Kelly his whole life. Comes in, and all of a sudden, they've eased him in. It's like spoon-feeding him the offense, giving him a little bit more and a little bit more each week. And pretty soon, by the Clemson game, they're going to turn loose the whole offense. But I think they've eased him into it.
And you know what helps? It helps to be, you know, they're young and inexperienced on the offensive line, but they're still talented. Don't get it twisted. They're getting better. I'd rather be young and talented than be experienced and not very talented. Those guys are getting better up front, and it's just going to continue to grow as the season goes on.
You know, Golson's strength has always been mid-range passing game. You're starting to see more of that. They do need to be careful with this. Georgia Tech's lost 3 of the games by 8 points or fewer, and their opponents have beaten them 27-4. It's not like Georgia Tech's losing to a bunch of teams that have been losing. Today in Death Valley in Baton Rouge, LSU home for what might have been scheduled as a break from the rigors of SEC play, and all of a sudden here comes Western Kentucky and that high-powered offense. It's on ESPNU, 7 o'clock Eastern time tonight, and it didn't take us long from Pollock to get a Leonard Fournette mention, and why not? He is the nation's leading rusher. He's accounted for more than 45% of the Tigers' yards from scrimmage. That is tops in the country. He gets another 100-yard game today. That ties the LSU record. 9 straight games with 100 yards rushing or more. Now, LSU has faced 4 straight backup quarterbacks. This cat ain't no backup. Brandon Dowdy comes in 74% completion, leads the nation, 39 completions of 20 yards or longer. That is the 3rd most in the nation, and LSU has shown a propensity to give those up. But then there's this. Les Miles has never lost a regular season game to a non-conference opponent. In fact, LSU's record streak of 51 in a row dates back to the Nick Saban era. But there has been the occasional sleepwalk, like Eastern Michigan this year, Towson a few years ago, where they let a team hang around because they weren't fully engaged. You'd think with Bama looming, this might be the perfect setup to get caught napping. But then again, the hat has given the opposing quarterback his stamp of legitimacy.
A quarterback, Brandon Doherty, every bit an SEC quarterback, big, talented, strong, smart quarterback, big arm.
Dowdy gonna swing it down there. He's got Taylor, a perfect strike, and they take it to the house.
The last time I was on the stage, I threw 5 interceptions. So, you know, playing a big SEC opponent at their place, it's huge for me.
Offensively, this team can really play. I voted for them to be in the top 25 if anybody asks. Very explosive. They're averaging 535 yards. 535 yards is a lot of yards. Our defense is in for a challenge, and certainly it's one that will be met.
That Brandon Doherty's good, isn't he?
You know what? Les misspoke a little bit, but we all know from years of doing games, the worst person on the planet to ask about a pronunciation of a player is not only the opposing coach, the guy's own coach. Sometimes.
That's why you say number 12. He good.
Exactly.
He good.
By number. Dowdy's put up huge numbers this year. Some other challenging names to pronounce. Christian Lockature not going to play for LSU. Not expected to play. Tre'Davious White also a little bit nicked up in the LSU secondary. Is this a sleepwalk game for LSU? Or Dowdy have their attention?
I think he has their attention, but I think they're going to move the ball. And also Western Kentucky right now plus 13 in turnover margin. So they're creating turnovers. They have no chance of stopping Leonard Fournette. And I think Harris will make plays in the passing game. He's 2 straight 200-yard games. But I think that Dowdy's going to get his numbers. He's got some receivers. Taywan Taylor can make a lot of plays on the perimeter. And LSU, if they don't get pressure and with some injuries, I think this is a 42-28 kind of game. I think LSU wins.
I think this is a game into the 4th quarter. They can't stop 7. I mean, first of all, nobody can stop 7. I want to see Bama.
Hope to contain him. That's about it.
Dowdy can score. Yeah. He can score. They can score. You just had a big win against Florida. You got Bama coming up on the schedule. I mean, some guys nicked up on defense. I think this is a 4th quarter type game. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be down to the wire. I think LSU will pull it out because 7's an absolute freak show. But I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah.
I agree with Kirk. I think they got to put some pressure on 12. Doherty.
Dowdy. Don't let Les talk you into that. Come on now.
They got to put some pressure on, but I think they'll be able to. You know that LSU's defense so far in 6 games, they've registered 17 sacks. In 13 games a year ago, they registered 19 sacks. So they're well on pace of breaking that record. I think because of the focus is on so much on Leonard Fournette, people are not talking about their defense, especially up front. I think they will get some pressure on the quarterback. Watch Lewis Neal. He said that Ed Orgeron has them playing with relentless aggression, but at the same time, very disciplined, so they're not out of their rushing lane. So watch the LSU defense getting pressure on number 12 today.
Everybody seems to think LSU. Everybody seems to think close. You think close enough?
I think it's a double-digit win for LSU.
Well, some of that
needs to be higher than double digits.
Significant double digits. Okay, we heard from the Bear already about another game in the SEC off the radar, Missouri and Vanderbilt. So, Missouri, Vanderbilt. Desmond, you get to start. You're looking over at the Bear. Bear picked Vanderbilt.
I got Vandy, too.
You got him?
Yeah, I got Vandy. I think so. I like the defense.
You know what's gotten overlooked because they were looking second year with Derek Mason. Here's Derek Mason is a defensive coordinator at Stanford, one of the best in the country. Comes over to take over a Vandy team that just had won 2 straight years of 9 wins or more. Well, a lot of those players left when James Franklin left, and he's trying to rebuild this. They gave up 33 points a game last year in his first year, only 18 points a game this year. You talk about a turnaround. So defensively, Vandy's doing their job. They're just not scoring enough. But I think today they do. I like Vandy to get it done and beat Missouri.
Vandy.
Yeah.
I got Missouri.
You got a triple not so fast.
Triple not so fast. Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Last week I wasn't allowed. I had to go to the bus, so I didn't know if I was allowed to do that. I think Missouri's Hansborough's healthy too. I think he's 100% finally. I know they're not great offensively, but their defense is disgusting too. I mean, Missouri's defense is always good, but this year is no exception. Vanderbilt's quarterback situation. You're going to get a few donations, so I think they'll take advantage.
Drew Lock may toss a couple of donations out there, too, though. The freshman quarterback from Missouri.
It might help either one of them score.
3-2.
It might have a little
3-2.
It'd be a defensive score
old
today.
school Auburn, Mississippi State
years ago.
Pick 6. You'll see a pick 6 today. Definitely.
You had that Virginia Tech Wake Forest game last year that ended scoreless in regulation. Might see something of that vein a little bit. We are celebrating one of the great scenes, football championship subdivision, and we wish a very happy good morning to Samantha Ponder, who also is an FCS alum, like many people standing behind her from just a couple of hours down the road. The Liberty Flame, Sam Ponder joins us.
Yeah, not too far from here, Reese. Speaking of that, I do want to give a little shout out to the head coach of the Richmond Spiders. I'm afraid to say that here. But Danny Rocco was the first coach I ever did a sideline interview. He was the head coach at Liberty when I was there. I asked a lot of dumb questions, and he was always respectful. So thanks to Coach Rocco for that. We've got a lot more coming up on College Game Day. First up, the story behind the decision of Princeton's Mason Darrow to become the only openly gay player in college football. Story there by Reese Davis and none other than Everett Withers, the guy they love here. He's got JMU rolling.
I can't go get on his back half and then go, Nothing's Tuesday, week 8, be aligned today. Lock in, let's be aligned today. Let's go to work. Don't evaluate today. Don't evaluate. Here we go.
Coach Withers is here, getting ready for a little interview. Yes, George Whitfield preparing the man they love here in Harrisonburg. And stay tuned for more great Game Day signs later in the show, brought to you by Pizza Hut. Game Day from the Berg is rolling on, and let me tell you, you'll want to stick around for our guest picker today. It is none other than country sensation, Mr. Dierks Bentley. Get ready for that and a whole lot more. It's College Game Day rolls on. Oh, we're dancing now.
Be aligned today. Lock in, let's be aligned today. Let's go to work. Hey, I got to drop my damn foot. I got to go, man. Always protect the easiest throw. Where's the easiest throw? Boom. Make them throw that.
I think it's the epitome of teams. When you think about FCS football, the toughness, the daily grind.
That's a rep you just lost. Guess what? You're done running the football till you can do this. Okay? You're done. Done. D-U-N. Done.
That's the beauty of it. They love the game of football. They want to compete. And I think that's a big part of why this is such a unique experience.
There we go. You know what? You're a closet punter. You've been punting for a long time. You're just in the closet, ain't you? I'm holding, then I'm going bam. Got an in and a post route behind you. Linebacker's going to be underneath that. Yeah, let's roll it here. Roll back, right there you go. Good. Nice.
You heard a little bit from Everett Weathers. Everybody is a conglomeration of people who've influenced him. And look at these names that Everett Weathers has worked with during his career. Jim Mora, Butch Davis, Urban Meyer, Jeff Fisher, and Mac Brown. All of them influenced him and turned him into a big winner here at James Madison. And the head coach of the Dukes is with Samantha Ponder.
Coach, Reese just showed us all those places you've been. You've been in big-time environments, but I want to know what you thought when you came out here today and you saw this crowd.
Well, Sam, this has been unbelievable. Our fan base, the Harrisonburg community, it's been unbelievable. We need to, and I work for Urban, he used to say, we need to enhance this and make it better. Each week we need this for home games.
Coach, they mentioned before that you played for Mac Brown.
Yeah.
You mentioned Urban Meyer. You spent time at Texas. What do you think you took away from those environments and seeing college football on that level that has helped you here?
Well, I think the leadership skills. How do you build programs? All those guys are great leaders. They all understand how you build a program from the bottom up. They understand how to mentor and develop young people. And I think that's the biggest thing. That's what you want to be as a coach. You want to be a mentor and a developer of young people. And I think that's been our biggest. I've hired a staff that wants to do that, a young staff that wants to do that. And that's our charge every day, to be developers and mentors.
One great example of that, of course, is with your quarterback, Vadley. We all saw him at Georgia Tech.
Right.
We've seen him rejuvenate his career here. How would you describe what his journey has been like here?
Well, you know, when Vad came out of high school, he was a talented quarterback that could do a lot of things. He went to Georgia Tech to run the triple option, and that really wasn't him. When I saw him in high school, I know he could be a talented guy. His high school coach called me when I got this job. It was the first call I got, was his high school coach, and said he wasn't happy, said he wanted to go somewhere where he could learn to be a quarterback. He's been nothing but a great teammate since he's been here.
When we look at this environment and this crowd, it's easy to feel the hype and get really excited, but you've still got a ball game to play today against a good Richmond team. So when you look at this team and what they can do, what do you anticipate being the biggest challenge you're going to face?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is they're very good on defense. They do what they do on defense. They're getting a lot of turnovers on defense. They run the ball extremely well. They play action pass extremely well. So we're going to have to be very, very good today, be very aligned as a team today, and play our best ball.
And not distracted, right, guys? You focused in. I don't know that I've ever had the actual team right behind us, which is pretty cool, but there's a good reason that we do, and that's because their coach here has a little surprise for them. So, Coach, take it away.
Well, Samantha, what we try to do is enhance our program, do things with our football program to make them better. We brought a brand new white helmet for today's game.
That is pretty cool. I think it's safe to say they like it. Who knew guys were so into fashion? Coach, we really appreciate your time today. 7-0, a perfect start. Congratulations on all your success so far. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.
Reese, helmets, a big hit around here.
Sam, it's always about being fashion forward, and the Dukes will be against the Spiders this afternoon. Some traditional garb on the banks of the Charles today, Harvard Stadium in Cambridge, where the Crimson will try to stretch its winning streak to 20. That's the second longest in the nation, only to Ohio State. But the last time that Princeton went into Harvard Stadium, it was the Tigers who came roaring back after Harvard was fighting them. Little trickeration, getting the Tigers in a triple overtime game. That Princeton emerged with a 51-48 victory, and that was the last time that Harvard lost a game, and it came at the hands of Princeton. Mason Darrow was a freshman offensive lineman for the Tigers on that 2013 team. Asked this week to define his perfect moment on the football field, he thought for just a second and said it had to be the Harvard game. Never experienced a moment like that before or since. perfect moments during that time frame a couple of years ago were hard to come by for Mason Darrow. Darrow's everything you look for in an offensive lineman. He's tough, he's smart, he's selfless. But Mason Darrow was gripped by the fear that he would be judged not for how he played, but for who he is.
5 strong on 3. 1, 2, 3, 5 strong.
We say 5 strong. You know, when you're on the field on offense, you always have 5 offensive linemen. And so it's those 5 guys working together. You're always 5 strong.
There's more of us on the field at any time than anybody else, and we really all rely on each other to do our job. I think it just makes us a lot closer on and off the field.
There's no statistics. In that group, what you have is each other. The stronger and the better you know somebody, the more you're going to confide in them, trust them, and, you know, be a part of their lives.
But one of those linemen, Mason Darrow, had a secret. As a freshman in 2013, Darrow was adjusting to Division I football, classes at an Ivy League school, and coming to terms with how to share something he feared would strain or even break the bond on the O-line.
There was always just kind of this one little thought in the back of my mind, you know, whether I'd be in class or at practice, just kind of wondering, you know, what I want to do about this, how people are going to take it.
It was a Thursday night practice, I think. The whole practice, he seemed to just kind of off. I kind of felt it in the air.
I was just really slow. I had trouble, you know, focusing on, you know, what calls to make. It was just kind of like this cloud hanging over me that, you know, I really didn't want to be there anymore.
And I was like, hey, like, are you okay? Yeah, sure, I'm fine, like in the generic way. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, you know, come up to my room, you know, we'll talk, we'll get this all sorted out.
I mean, it was pretty terrifying. That was kind of the first moment when I realized, like, all right, here we go, this is happening.
I sat him down, I was like, all right, seriously, like, what's the deal? Like, what's wrong?
I just kind of said, yeah, I've got some personal stuff. I don't really know quite how I want to handle it. And he was like, okay, well, this is a girl issue. I'm going to be really upset. And I just said, no, it's exactly the opposite. And then kind of paused for a second, and I was just like, Caleb, I'm gay. And he was like, okay.
I just looked at him, I was like, that's not a big deal, man. Like, you're a family. You can tell me that, and you know what? I'll help you go through whatever you need to go through.
It's definitely funny that, you know, I'm you know, really freaking out here coming to tell you this, and then the reaction is just, okay.
Sharing the news quietly with a teammate is one thing. Having it become common knowledge is another. It wasn't the fear of mean-spirited comments that concerned him. Quite the opposite. Would his teammates be afraid of offending him and leave him out of the time-honored rite of passage, getting ragged on in the locker room?
I know, Mitch. I know everything.
We all make fun of each other all the time, and I mean, everybody's part of it. I mean, it hasn't changed anything.
He started making jokes on his own. You know, first you're never really sure what to do in a situation, so you look to other people to see what they might do.
You know, initially, some guys were a little uncertain, like, where the line was drawn or what could be said. And then, you know, I think once I kind of started with that, then they were like, oh, okay, yeah, it's just still same old Mason.
What did you learn about your fears of the reaction versus the reality of the reaction?
That I'd way overthought and overanalyzed potential reactions. I mean, honestly, nobody really cared that much. I mean, it was just the complete opposite of what I feared would happen, and I look back and I'm just like, I can't believe I ever thought that this would be a big issue.
Since Darrow decided to go public before this season, he now holds the distinction of being the first openly gay player in Division I history to actually play in a game. He doesn't consider himself a trailblazer. Mason Darrow just thinks of himself as one of the guys.
I don't know that I consider myself a gay football player. I mean, I like to think I'm just a football player who happens to be gay. You know, for me growing up, it was kind of a struggle. I didn't really have athletic mentors to look up to, but for me, I just wanted to be that gay athlete that some kid can identify with and be like, okay, I can do this too.
And one of the most intriguing parts of that story was the fact that Mason told his teammates in 2013, coaching staff didn't learn of it until right before this season, right before Mason's decision to come out publicly. And Kirk, it sort of calls into question, and it was part of the piece, the importance of whatever a player's issue is, whatever goes on in the locker room, the importance of acceptance and camaraderie and the bond on the team. What is the significance of that?
You know, when I was watching your story with Mason, I was thinking back to Michael Sam and what Michael Sam went through and how tough it was for him to eventually come out and talk about this. And what stood out to me was the acceptance from his teammates, from inside that locker room, here with Mason and all, of course, with Michael with Missouri. And I think for America, that's what you need to hear. That's the message that I think we all need to hear, is whether it's race, religion, sexual orientation, politics, whatever it is. When you get in a locker room, that's the one thing that I think people on the outside, never really been in that locker room, don't really understand, is you knock down all the walls and you come together as one, and people accept you for whatever your background might be. And this is another great example of that. That's really nice.
Really only one mission for Princeton today, and that is to try to end that Harvard winning streak, which sits at 19 right now. And it was everything, every player I talked to this week is like, got to get ready to beat Harvard, got to try to beat Harvard. Nobody's done that since 2013. They will kick off at high noon at venerable Harvard Stadium for a rematch in the Ivy League. College game day. James Madison rolling on. The effects of a heat stroke left Miami's Hunter Knighton in a coma. How he managed to work his way all the way back to the field for the Hurricanes. A great story of resilience coming up. And just over a week. Oh, look at Timmy Rinaldi. I'm kidding. We call him Timmy affectionately. Tom, does he have some answers for us? The college football playoff rankings coming up really soon. Who's in danger of being left out? At James Madison, the Cheez-It Real fan cam, the early favorite for show MVP, according to Herb Street. Terrific scene, great signs, and get you all set up for the tailgate. The Home Depot Game Day tailgate. Chef Jacob Nepo-Nick from the local
bye week.
I got some good friends that live down the street. Got a good-looking woman with her arms around me. Here in a small town where it feels like home. I got everything I need.
A beautiful morning in Harrisonburg, Virginia, on the campus of James Madison University. You know, James Madison authored the Bill of Rights. The freedom of assembly, the freedom of speech, alive and well on the campus that bears our fourth president's name. Free speech is backing the Dukes, and the right to bear arms, particularly the arm belonging to quarterback Van Lee, is vigorously protected. A showdown of FCS powerhouses James Madison and Richmond, the only Division I game matching top 15 opponents. College game day rolling from the Shenandoah Valley.
And we're coming to your city. If you want a little bang in your yin yang, if you want a little bang in your chang chang, if you want a little chang in your chang chang, come along, come along, come along. Yeah, we're coming to your city.
Bridgeport Stadium in Harrisonburg, the home of the Dukes of James Madison. They take on Richmond this afternoon. The Football Power Index saying that the homestanding Dukes about a 13-point favorite. This FCS showdown, colonial importance attached to this in conference play and certainly positioning for the upcoming playoff, not to mention plenty of bragging rights. This is a rivalry game between James Madison and Richmond, and certainly a rivalry game in Tuscaloosa this afternoon when Alabama takes on Tennessee. Crimson Tide finishing its October grind, a month that featured a pair of road wins over top 10 teams. Could be punctuated by a home win. It would be the 9th straight over an age-old rival. And during those previous 8 losses, Tennessee's really only had one chance to win, and it came when Lane Kiffin was head coach in 2009. Chance to take the lead? Nope. Blocked field goal by Mount Cody. Tried it again in the waning seconds of the game. Nope again. Alabama survived and went on.
Look at the big fella.
You see that elevation, Cody? That's the kind of celebration you ought to get in a rivalry game, especially one that carries the historical significance of this one, as important to both schools as any rivalry. I mean, this is a game in which Bear Bryant once played on a broken leg. General Neyland measured his football players by how they stacked up against Alabama. About a decade ago, this rivalry turned nasty in light of the NCAA investigation to Alabama and Tennessee aiding the investigation. But, you know, even during that time frame, at least there was some bitterness between the two. Now, what should be the third Saturday in October, now the fourth, is greeted with, Tennessee can turn that around with a victory like which the Volunteers have not had in 3,304 days. It's been that long since they beat a top 10 team, and they would love to beat Alabama today.
Nobody on the team beat Alabama, so I mean everything just come out here and get the upset.
I think everybody tries to give Alabama their best shot. I don't think it's going to be too much difference from Tennessee to any other team we play.
It is a rivalry game. We understand the importance and the magnitude of what it means to a lot of people.
We always expect a really tough physical game, and we have to be ready to play that kind of game anytime you're playing in a rivalry game.
Coker has a man wide open behind the D. Is going to go for a touchdown. Coker with a jugular touchdown, Alabama.
Jake has done a fabulous job for us, you know, really all year long. He has improved with knowledge, experience, confidence.
The biggest way he's grown is probably his confidence.
Really become more comfortable with everybody. You know, my teammates just do their jobs and make it easier for me.
I think he believes in himself a lot more now, and we have all the trust in the world in him.
Desmond, I know how you love the metrics.
Yeah, all about the metrics.
You know, you look at the win probability for Tennessee across every play they've had this season, better than 70%. That's better than 4 undefeated teams. So they might have a better chance than people might think against Alabama today.
Well, you know, I think, Reese, that they're just too beat up in the trenches, in my opinion, to compete with Alabama. When you look at the Crimson Tide, you know, they are committed to being a dominant team in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line. You look at Tennessee coming to this game, they may be without 3 stars on the offensive line. Nose tackle Shy Tuttle, he's out the game. I think their best chance to try to hang with Alabama is if Josh Dobbs is able to run the ball effectively. He hit Florida's defense up for 136. I think if he can keep Alabama's defense off balance with the run, that's going to be Tennessee's best chance. I just think they're too beat up in the trenches to hang with Alabama. So I got Alabama winning the game by at least 17 points, Coach.
Alabama is now playing defense Bama style.
Yeah.
Since the Ole Miss game, they have forced 11 turnovers. 11 turnovers, and they're playing great defense. They're scoring on defense. They had 3 pick sixes last week. Holy mackerel.
Listen, crazy?
Defense, running game, special teams, is tied teams tough to beat. They won't lose to Tennessee, but they're tough to beat anybody to play.
They've really done a good job since the Ole Miss game of really finding an identity, because when you're replacing 3 offensive linemen, starting quarterback, Amari Cooper, your top 3 wide receivers, it takes time. Well, this offense now has found that identity. The offensive line is coming together. There's continuity now. They're opening up running lanes. And when you allow Derrick Henry to run downhill, it's going to be a good thing. He makes people miss. He runs over top of them. So on 1st and 10, you're seeing a lot of Derrick Henry, because I think the offensive line, especially on that left side, doing a really good job of matching up. Look at this is Lee's favorite part. We don't have a chance for my climbing to that second level. We got Ryan Kelly, the center, getting up there. That second level now. Now 1st and 10. Look at the linebackers and safeties. It's a given. They're going to run the football left. Everybody's out of position. They get it back to O.J. Howard. Nice call by Lane Kiffin on 1st and 10. And the other thing that I'm noticing with Alabama is that when they stay on schedule and they put Jake Coker at 2nd and 6 and 3rd and 3, they are lethal. If they have a false start, they get to 2nd and 15 or 3rd and long, they just basically abort. They punt and rely on that defense. So Alabama right now really coming together. And Tennessee, as Des said, they're beat up on that defensive line. They will get worn down. And I see Alabama winning big in this one.
You wanted to hit the Bear? You're worried about the Bear.
The Bear was all wound up last week about A&M.
I mean, that was the one where he came in.
I had no regrets with that pick. After a block punt, 28-20, right there, plus 20-yard line. The game was right there. They had no business being in the game, but they still had a chance.
I don't need excuses. I'm just talking about.
right now, Alabama's playing better than any team in the country, regardless of what one-loss records are.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would agree with that.
So you like Tennessee to keep it close today, or?
I don't know. I agree with you guys. I think up front, the way the Alabama running game is going right now, you saw Georgia have some success running the football before Chubb got hurt. I think Alabama will win pretty easily today.
Yeah.
Great. You know what Alabama would like to do is win and also commit a secondary NCAA violation. Now, they're a little bit coy about the way this goes, but it's been a tradition since the 60s. When Alabama beats Tennessee, they get stogies. They light up the celebratory cigar. You see,
lighten them up,
As it turns out, Alabama sort of disavows some of the knowledge of this. There have been rumors that maybe they self-report a secondary violation for extra benefits and tobacco use. So I'm not saying you have to pick either one, but, you know,
LC
if you get the pick right, if you get the pick right,
get the torch out.
You can light it up. You know what, Bear? I've got one for the Bear too. Here, catch this one, Bear. There we go.
Maybe caught it. That's the upset of the day.
You can pick either side you want. If you get it right, just as Jim Goosetree, the Tennessee grad and former Alabama trainer, would have it. See, Coach knows how to do that.
I don't know about that. You got to lick him. That's what it is. That's what you got to lick him.
Are you serious? I was never told that.
All right.
That's a new one on me, buddy.
You know what happens? Every week on College Game Day, you learn something extra that'll benefit your life, right?
This guy, he knows his
Every Friday afternoon, I smoke a beautiful cigar.
Is this a good one or not? I don't know anything about it. Not bad?
Oh, beautiful. Cuban.
Yeah, I'll bring you a couple of Cubans from Miami next week, Coach. I'll hook you up.
We do not condone any type of illegal activity on this show, by the way.
Or him doing the
Still to come on College Game Day.
We don't condone that.
For a miracle, how Sparty pulled off that win right at the horn against Michigan last week, and their comebacks, and then there is this remarkable story from being comatose to returning to the football field, the incredible story of Miami's Hunter Knighton. And we get an all-access pass with USC as they try to turn their season around against number 3 Utah, coming up later tonight. We've had a tremendous scene, and this is part of College Game Day built by the Home Depot, that you get some of Reese's Game Day greatness. You know, James Madison was our shortest president, 5'4". Some say he never weighed 100 pounds.
He lived to, what, he was 84 years old?
He was, and they said at times he was a sickly man.
Fourth president.
Fourth president, yeah.
Secretary of the State before that.
That's right, part of the Louisiana Purchase.
After he was president.
Somebody's been doing some homework. Okay, but now do you know what this is?
That's a tarantula.
That is a tarantula.
That's a blue tarantula.
Blue tarantula that lives on the University of Richmond campus. Do you know his name?
Tarrant.
Named for the Richmond basketball coach, Dick Tarrant, who once stung second-seeded Syracuse as a 15 seed.
Give me that Hyundai. Give me that Hyundai. I got
tonight.
some of those.
Spider, look at that spider. Ooh.
College Game Day, built by the Home Depot, is brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, the perfect combination of chocolate and peanut butter. AT&T, mobilizing your world. And Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. The Cheez-It Real Fan of the Week is brought to you by Cheez-It. Because at Cheez-It, real cheese matters.
Just an absolutely crazy scene here in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I'd say the scene of the year, if I don't say so myself. Yesterday, such a crazy crowd just for college football live. We've never seen anything like it. Of course, we had the Cheez-It tent out for fans to play a little cornhole. The competition got pretty serious, and we now have our winner, the Cheez-It Real Fan of the Week, Anthony Carini. Anthony, congratulations. If you can I know it's kind of crazy out here. I know you have a favorite on set from game day. Who's that?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously got to give a shout out to Lee Fitting, but come on, Samantha, you're everyone's favorite.
No. Okay, first of all, that's a lie. Twitter will tell me right now, but you were supposed to say Lee Fitting and just stick with that. Lee's cool, right? We're going to give him a shout out? No, Lee, we tried. He was supposed to give you a shout out right now, but it didn't work. Reese, that's what happens when you try and make Lee the star. No, I'm sorry, that was me. I shouldn't say that.
Should I just reach out?
All right, Sam, there have been plenty of stars that played football here at James Madison. College football and Pro Football Halls of Fame. Charles Haley, a 5-time Super Bowl champ during his career. Relentless, devastating player, both the collegiate and professional level. All those Super Bowl rings for him. And how about Gary Clark, the veteran Redskin receiver that Desmond mentioned early in the show as being influential to him? The first person in James Madison history to have his jersey retired, and most noted for his great play with the Redskins. But you also see Scott Norwood. He's known for that miss, but Scott Norwood was a great kicker. He was a Pro Bowler at one time. They're all JMU alums, as are the aforementioned Lee Fitting and Lindsey Zarniak, who, of course, has done a great job with us as an anchor. George, you know what? We're celebrating the lower divisions of football. George played Division II. Tiffin, now a noted quarterback guru. A guy that's getting his opportunity here, the one they all love, is Van Lee. Van Lee has done it running and throwing. What do you like about Van?
Reese, so much right here. The game is about patience. Here you see Vad against their biggest opponent at SMU. Offensive coordinator Brett Elliott gets him a 2-on-2 matchup over here. He makes a beautiful shot here to Rashard Davis. Catches the free safety peeking inside. Patience. He is pressured in the pocket like we're getting pressured right here, but he delivered. We got to keep delivering.
Did you see the pressure I just handled right there? We had a guy standing on one of the cables, and I kind of pushed him out of the way and created a little more room in the pocket.
Very necessary, very necessary.
The other thing, another guy that we've already touched on a little bit, Western Kentucky's Brandon Dowdy against LSU. He recognizes coverage.
I love this. He doesn't just read this. He decodes this defense here. Here he is against Indiana. All-man matchup. He sees the linebacker overplaying his role on the tight end. Gets nosy. Carve him up. You gotta love this here. Makes a shot to Tyler Higbee, the tight end. He's rolling. For all the yards he's thrown for, he is an absolute surgeon when it comes down to breaking these defenses down. It's no joke what's happening at Western Kentucky.
The screamers you see are a JMU tradition as we walk the gauntlet. And a guy we're going to see at noon, Miami's Brad Kaya against a really tough Clemson defense.
Oh, man. James Coley has done so much with Brad Kaya. It's ridiculous. Let's take a look here. Last play of the Virginia Tech game last week. He's pressured up the field by the defensive ends at Tech. Trevor Darlington and Daniel Isidore do a great job walling it off. Here he has Rashawn Scott coming along the back edge of the end zone. Processes the coverage, knows Rashawn Scott's going to be coming across. Great anticipation, basically meets him with the football. Brad Kaya is playing at an incredible level right now that the Hurricanes are going to need for him to... You all right?
We just had a little slip here with our Steadicam operator.
Man down. We're all right.
We're all right.
He's all right.
All right.
It's a tough bunch.
Your guys have to handle the gauntlet sometimes, and our fine technical crew is able to do the same thing.
George, you all right, kid? You winded there.
George, okay. The Steadicam guy going.
Sometimes you got to dive into action.
All right.
Hey, give him an oxygen mask. Get George an oxygen mask.
Oh, man. Today, a guy who's shown he's almost precocious in his ability. The coaches loved him as a freshman, and he's continued to grow and mature. Kaya's hoping to lead Miami to a signature victory over Clemson today. Canes still haven't beaten a team under Al Golden that's finished the season ranked. Signature victories are one thing, but Tom Rinaldi joins us now. One Hurricane Tom has already had a signature moment.
Reese, when the Canes take on Clemson less than 2 hours from now, it'll be a huge game for both teams. But every game is huge for the Canes. Hunter Knighton, so is every moment. Life is like that when you've come this close to losing it.
It's a miracle. Just the fight, his inner fight. How else do you explain it?
Miracle.
just playing football again, doing what I love.
Miracles didn't carry Hunter Knighton to Miami. As a 6'5" offensive lineman from Pennsylvania, recruited by Yale and the Naval Academy, he was driven by one goal.
Division I college football player. That was it.
We talk about our foundation, smart, tough, disciplined, and better condition, and he embodies that. You know, he was fighting for a starting job.
That fight would take on a very different meaning. February 24th, 2014, as Hunter was battling the flu during an off-season workout.
I felt really nauseous, extremely hot, tired, out of breath. I won the rep, and then getting back in line to go again, and then like that, it's black.
We took him to the emergency room, and you just know as a coach, you know as a dad, something's not right here.
Hunter was suffering severe exertional heat stroke. His body temperature had risen to 109 degrees. His organs shutting down, his brain swelling. He was in a medically induced coma when his family arrived.
I just kept thinking, like, when he was little and he would be sick, and, you know, you just want to make him better. You know, you'd do anything to trade places.
The progression was so slow in the beginning, and we just wanted him to be Hunter, you know?
12 days later, Hunter emerged.
I just couldn't catch my breath, and it was so weird because breathing's such a natural thing. It's scary. The thing you love, football, brings you so close to death. That definitely changes a person. You know, I don't care who you are.
By the time Hunter left the hospital in early March 2014, after being weaned off a ventilator, fighting off double pneumonia, and facing bouts of medication-fueled psychosis, one thing had not changed.
He told me, I came to the University of Miami to be a player, not be a patient. I'm going to play. And I believed him.
I wasn't going to let, you know, this thing, you know, scare me away from that.
The turning point in Hunter's return happened when he came to the Corey Stringer Institute at UConn last fall, still trying to regain the 55 pounds he lost in the hospital and his playing shape.
When he came to us, we were really trying to explain to him that it's going to be a long path in terms of his fitness, his exercise heat tolerance, and understand that kind of that emotional journey.
He followed the Institute's strict guidance on physical training, weekly testing, and constant monitoring. And 19 months after collapsing on a practice field, in Miami's season opener, number 54 Hunter Knighton was where he knew he would be.
I started getting the butterflies, and I'm like, you know, I finally got to do this, and now I have to make the most of that opportunity.
For us, it was a Super Bowl, and I felt like I finally had my Hunter back.
Just an absolute miracle that Hunter Knighton was back in college football tonight.
Hunter's return to football, Hunter's recovery, and Hunter's return to life is a miracle.
If you're looking for the most determined player in college football, you just may have found it there in Hunter Knighton. When he returned, he used an ingestible body temperature pill, which the program tracked and monitored to be certain that he was safe. His family really wanted to thank the doctors at Corey Stringer Institute for all they did, Reese. Hunter Knighton has played in every Canes game this season, and he hopes to compete for a starting job here moving forward as a redshirt sophomore. He just sees himself as next up here, big game for a guy who appreciates it more than most.
Tom, never ceases to amaze me the stories of inspiration that we can find across college football. Thank you. Noon Eastern time. Coming up on ABC, Dabo Swinney leading the Clemson Tigers in against Miami. Clemson has been very good in this situation as a ranked opponent taking on unranked teams. They've won 34 in a row. Clemson and Alabama, the only two teams not to lose to an unranked opponent in the last 4 years. You know, as for the Hurricanes, they've seen their season come apart after losses to Florida State the previous 2 years, just 2-8 in that situation. But this year feels a little bit different. Canes have already beaten Virginia Tech, and while I know those fire-out Golden Plains are probably still sitting at the runway, it might be the Hurricanes who are now cleared for takeoff. And Desmond, if they're going to be able to get this win against Clemson today, they're going to have to deal with maybe not as deep a Clemson defense as they had last year, but one that's been very effective.
Very talented defense, especially up front. They're second in the conference in tackles for loss, and I'm going to show you why. Let's take a look at our superior performance driven by Goodyear. Look at Shaq Lawson right here, right there at the end. 6'3", 275. He plays with really good technique. Takes the blocker on with the inside shoulder so you have outside leverage, folds underneath, and makes the tackle. And if the guy is 275, watch how quick he can get to the quarterback. Really good hand movement. I don't think the Hurricanes got an offensive lineman that can block him one-on-one. And if Kaya tries to avoid Mackenzie Alexander, the cornerback, watch out for Cordrea Tankersley. He's also a really good cornerback. Number 25, they have a really talented secondary. Yes. Their guys up front, they don't rotate a lot of guys in their front seven, but they're extremely talented. Brad Kaya and that offensive line, they're going to have their hands full with Clemson's defensive front.
You know, it's incredible. I think it's kind of gone unnoticed because Deshaun Watson gets so much love. I think the Clemson defense has been one of the great stories this year in college football. Yeah. Brent Venables, who obviously came over from Oklahoma last year, had one of the best defensive units in the country. He rotated a lot of guys, but he lost 8 starters, all 7 up front. A lot of them are playing in the NFL and playing every Sunday, and he breaks in. Not Shaq played, but a lot of these guys did not play, and they're right now right where they were as far as the numbers are concerned from where they were a year ago. And I think their defense will give Kaya, who's an outstanding player, they'll give him trouble. The other thing is the loss of Raphael Kirby, kind of the heart and soul of their defense for the Miami defense. You add that and Darian Owens, who they already lost a few weeks ago. That's just too many injuries to that Miami second level. I like Clemson.
Too many areas, because when you look at Deshaun Watson, the thing is, he can run it. And they don't use him only when they need to. And you look at the Louisville game, they needed to use him. He had 50-plus yards rushing. Notre Dame game, he rushed for more than he threw. Wayne Goldman's another guy that doesn't get any attention.
No, physical.
He's physical. He's tough. He runs the ball. Clemson's running game starting to come along. And they had a left tackle, a true freshman starting. So I think their offense is getting better. Their defense has obviously played well all season. So that's why I think Clemson gets the W. But I do think it'll be a close game. Kai is the best quarterback they've faced, especially,
no doubt,
especially playmakers. So it'll be fun to watch.
Now, Clemson gets a little bit of depth at some point back on the defensive line as DJ Reader returns. Not sure if he'll play today, but he's been away with some personal things. I've heard a lot of Clemson.
Oh,
Bear?
Boy.
Bear, that's on your board.
Sneaking around over there.
Yeah. What do we got on the Tigers?
What say you?
You guys said a lot of it already. I mean, Kai is the best quarterback Clemson's faced. You look at Power 5 passing offenses in terms of efficiency. Miami's 4th in the country among the 65 Power 5 teams. By far the best pass offense Clemson's going to face. Kaiser had 321 in the rain against Clemson.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, Reese, your planes, they're not on the runway. They're already up in the air.
Are they up already?
They're up already. We have as many wins against ranked teams as Al Golden has, so they're all in. Yeah. I'm with you, though. If Miami was going to tank, their season would have gone down the drain last week. But without Kirby, without Darian Owens, offensive line, can they handle it? I think it's a high-scoring game, close like the Louisville-Clemson game.
Sounds like he's
Clemson doesn't lose to the unranked teams, but Miami's going to keep it close today. They're not going in the tank.
So they're not an outright win.
I think they're going to score a lot of points, but I think ultimately Gallman, Deshaun Watson running against the linebackers that are pretty thin right now. I think Clemson will go on the road, win a close game like they did at Louisville earlier in the year.
Okay.
Within 7 is what he's saying.
Yeah, exactly. That comes up at noon on ABC. Clemson and Miami, a game also slated to start at noon on ESPN. Baylor and Iowa State, and that high-powered Baylor offense. They've had some flooding areas as a result of the hurricane that stalled out in the Gulf. Look at what's happening in Waco right now. Double-digit inches of rain. Road closures delayed the Cyclones from being able to get to McLean Stadium. It's supposed to start at noon Eastern time. Cyclones expected to get there, but they're going to be late arriving. Rain has reached the door of the production truck.
You just wonder how that would impact this football game and that passing attack of what Baylor does.
Iowa State's happy.
Yeah,
very happy. I urge people watching that area to be careful. Have a look at this radar. There seems to be even more rain moving on the way. Everything's still scheduled at the moment to be on time and start at noon. Desmond mentioned this earlier, that the rain might be the one thing that slows down that Baylor offense. Much more on Iowa State and Baylor coming up later on in College Game Day. We also getting close.
Sweetness, Rice, Sims. They didn't play in football palaces. Nobody sent a camera crew to see what hat they'd choose on National Signing Day. Warner, Williams, Westbrook. Nike didn't customize their uniforms. Garmin couldn't find their campuses. Moss, Owens, Romo. Their scores were on the agate page, not the front page. Keith Jackson never whoa-nellied them.
It's a pitch to Moss on the end around.
McNair, Jaworski, Allen. Maybe they were 2 inches too short, 0.2 of a second too slow. Or maybe, just maybe, the big school recruiters had rocks for brains.
And it is caught and a touchdown.
Jones, Buchanan, Dent, Joyner, Cruz.
Past the defense's Cruz. Touchdown, Giants.
Go ahead. You take the big school players, the FBS players. I'll take the FCS guys. The Blunts, the Browns, the Longs, the guys with chips on their shoulder pads. And just to be fair, we'll spot you a touchdown.
Take those odds. Look at the non-FBS player impact in the NFL. 21 non-FBS players drafted in the previous draft. Richard Dent, Joe Flacco, Phil Simms, Harvey Martin, Warner Williams, all named Super Bowl MVP. And there are 4 current starting quarterbacks who played at the FCS level, which we are celebrating here at James Madison today. They're coming. Some bad rankings could happen, some good teams. They're armed with metrics, eye test, strength of schedule. This is your warning. They want to see your body of work, your complete body of work. They're looking for razor-thin differences. Who won head-to-head matchups? The College Football Selection Committee rankings are coming. Are you ready?
It's irrelevant right now. I mean, it really is. It just doesn't matter.
Right now, I'm not worried about it.
I think the only argument that needs to be made is in the last week of that poll, personally.
It's not even worth the conversation at this point.
I think we're a talented team. I think we're a team that is, in position to do a lot of things.
We got to win the rest of these games. We got some big-time opponents in front of us that they say are highly ranked. If we take care of our business and do our business, it'll take care of itself.
We've got a pretty good resume. I think we're the only top 12 team that's beaten a team in the top 12, at this stage. But what does that mean? This time next week could be totally different.
And that is exactly right. Have a look at the current AP Top 10. The Selection Committee rankings come out 1 week from Tuesday. We'll unveil them exclusively on ESPN. I want you to think back to this time last year. Only one team ranked in the top 6 a year ago eventually made it to the college football playoff. So it is okay to kind of say, okay, let's wait and see how this plays out a little bit. We're going to tell you how we think it might expect to play out. So one thing that this time of year, David, that everybody talks about, major conference spot, somebody's going to get left out. Which major conference champion most likely to get left out?
It's interesting. I think everybody's talked about the SEC and the Pac-12 being the best 2 conferences in college football over the last several years. I think one of them are going to get left out. And I say that because Clemson or Florida State for me is going to make it. I think Michigan or Ohio State is going to make it. And I think TCU or Baylor is going to make it. So I think they're fighting for one spot, which most people think of SEC and Pac-12, they're the best. I think one of them are going to be left out.
Which one? Which one? If you had to pick one.
SEC.
Wow, never happened. Never happened. My friend. Maybe the Pac-12. I think maybe the ACC. I just think that that conference isn't really well respected right now. And I find it, I don't think the selection committee will leave the Big 12 out again a second year. I think what happened last year to Baylor and TCU, People felt as though they were disrespected. So I'm thinking the ACC might be the team, might be the conference coach with a team that's left out.
Defeated could still be left out because of their weak schedule, and the most important thing, their playoff game. The game with the title, the ACC title, is against a coastal team that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
That will really hurt the ACC when it comes down. Their game, their title, will be against a team unranked.
I think Stanford's going to come out of the Pac-12, but I think they potentially could get left out. They're going to need help. So as you're saying, David, about which of these conferences, I think the Pac-12 right now is the one that's going to need the most work. And I know Utah's saying, what about us? And if Utah wins out, they'll be in. But I think Stanford will be the team that wins out. I do think that there's one little caveat you got to throw in there. That's Notre Dame. We're sitting here just assuming these Power 5 conferences. I personally think Notre Dame has a legitimate chance to run the table. And if Notre Dame is sitting at 11-1, we could potentially have 2 power conferences left out of the Final Four. Because I think if Notre Dame goes 11-1 and with that schedule and they beat Stanford at the end of the year, I don't care that they don't have a conference championship.
I agree with you. They don't need a conference.
No. 11-1, they're in.
Their title game is Stanford.
Yes.
If they win
That's their
Stanford,
opportunity.
they're in. If they lose, they're out.
11-1. If Clemson's also 11-1 or undefeated, they don't go in ahead of them.
I don't think so.
And what about Notre Dame's schedule not being quite what we anticipated? Georgia Tech's been disappointing. Texas disappointing. SC disappointing.
Yeah.
Really only the Stanford game at the end, high-level marquee opportunity.
I think as we're sitting here looking 5 weeks down the road, for me, when you get down to it, the eye test and watching what Notre Dame's overcome, you lose your starting quarterback, your starting tailback. They still have overcome that. And to me, if they're 11-1 and looking good, I'd have no problem with them being
They lost their first string and second string tailback and their tight end.
If it's 11-1 and it's Bama with 1 loss,
why is it got to be Bama as that one team?
Well, I would have said Stanford, but Stanford plays Notre Dame,
right.
So I don't think it's going to matter. That's going to take
that would take care of itself.
So I'm talking about the 1-loss possibilities.
Well, see, my problem is I got LSU winning out, so Bama, that doesn't apply to me.
If Alabama or an SEC team is left out, there will be a movement for 8 teams. What? The SEC is
as
not
soon as possible. Maybe
next year. Next year, because the ACC controls college football, and they're not going to allow one of their teams not to be in.
If Notre Dame run the table, I agree. They will be in.
Yeah, I think so, too.
I'm not sure that Ole Miss has the chops to do this. But if Ole Miss runs the table and they go 11, they're not getting in. The SEC won't get in.
SEC's out, and so are they, because you lost to Memphis.
They'd be out.
Now, I wonder how much they take into account, too. Larry Tunzel, too, and depending on how they look when he comes back. And you're talking about an elite player that they lost. And
good, but then you might have to deal with an undefeated Memphis in the middle of it.
Exactly. About one team. What if Florida wins it all? Florida runs their table and the SEC title game. They only got 1 loss.
Oh, I like that, Coach.
That's a good call,
It might be sneaking in there.
And they have to do it with a backup quarterback, too, Treon Harris.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
One last thing about the conferences. The Big 12 has all their heavyweights in November. Oklahoma State, you talked about it way back in August. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma are both teams to look out for. There's so much focus on TCU and Baylor. They could eventually, as a conference, beat each other up, and there might not be anybody standing there with an unbeaten record. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are going to have a lot to say about who eventually comes out of that conference.
You know, the Big 12 has been moving up the conference rankings. I think they're in a pretty good spot as we get closer and closer to November. Now, take a look at our selections here. We did this as close to the way as the selection committee does in terms of putting 6 teams together and ordering them at first. We had Baylor, Ohio State, LSU, Utah, with Alabama and TCU, the 2 teams sitting on the outside.
Wow.
Notre Dame, not quite there. Baylor on every ballot so far.
Baylor, let me tell you something. Baylor is the choice of everybody in America. They want to see the Big 12, Pac-12 get in there this year. They want them to hurt again.
After last year. They look like a better team. We really don't know how good they are yet until they play somebody.
We'll find out in November.
They have 5 weeks in a row where they're going to have a chance to show how
That's
good
when
Baylor
their real season starts.
When we find when that calendar flips in November, we'll find out about the Bears. They have the longest home winning streak, 19 straight at McLean Stadium, just over an hour away with Coke Zero countdown to kickoff. Iowa State has made it to the stadium. Everything expected to be on time. Iowa State and the second-ranked Bears kick off at noon on ESPN. Still to come here on College Game Day, a 100-game winning streak not possible these days? Oh, yes. Here's a program that is on the cusp of that ridiculous milestone. And, you know, if you have one job, you really ought to nail it. Otherwise, Sam and David will put you on television and we might make fun of you. The best week's viral videos coming your way shortly. And there's John Richardson. He is this week's Home Depot Tailgate Titan winner right here, all the way from Glen Allen, Virginia. Glad to have him with us here on campus at James Madison.
Countdown to Kickoff is brought to you by Coke Zero. All taste, 0 calories. Try a new game day tradition.
All Millionaire. Play free with promo code HOTDOG.
Today, when the University of Mount Union takes on Wilmington, the Purple Raiders will play for their 100th straight regular season win. That's right, 100 in a row. This isn't a Division III dynasty. It's a rule of law. Mount Union in the regular season is thin air on Everest and traffic in Manhattan. The last time the Purple Raiders lost a non-playoff game, this week 10 years ago. Nickelback had the #2 song in the country, and LeBron James had 0 points in his postseason career. After they lost to Ohio Northern on that fateful October day in '05, what did they do? They started this streak a week later. In other words, they climbed right back up the mountain all over again, and they haven't come back down yet.
Kara's family coaches one of the great dynasties at any level of college football. Mount Union taking on Wilmington today and going for their 100th straight regular season win. It's almost impossible to fathom. Today's aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Kick off your drive with tires that return superior performance. Goodyear is more driven. And the Cheez-It Real fan cam. We're going to swoop into Samantha and David over there. We look forward to this every week. I love it. You had one job, Sam.
David, we got to start with something positive this week. Can we give a little shout out to this crowd for doing their job? I mean, this is the best we've had all year in quite some time also. So congratulations on actually doing your job this week. Let's get to the tape here. First up, come on. This is how you know you're not the quarterback anymore.
Come on.
No love for Braxton Miller. It looks like it says 8-miler. Impressive.
Yeah. Shout out to Eminem.
That's right. That's bad. They got that fixed before
They
kick,
did
by the
get
way.
it fixed. Shout out to the equipment staff here.
Thanks, Kirk.
If you're
Thanks,
gonna,
Kirk.
if you're gonna run the trick play, you got to know the rules, David.
Oh, no. Don't
the
do
forward pass.
Yeah.
And it looks like I threw it.
Oh, no. Actually, you got a pretty good arm. You could have done that better than that.
Take another look.
But you know what? Utah has some great. They've had some great special teams play. The one against Oregon was awesome. This was just.
They want to put that one away, though.
Yeah,
And of course, we bring it back.
Unsuccessful.
They ended up winning the game, though, so who really cares?
Yeah, that's all it matters.
Todd Graham a little
Got a
confused
super
there.
out of that.
Next one, he scored the touchdown. This is at Bowling Green. And then he did a little penguin walk with a T-Rex dance. I don't know what was happening. I mean, he sold it, though.
I think some of these guys are trying to get on. You have one job.
Oh,
And
this is the worst.
I don't know
this
if
is the
there
worst.
are words.
That's Paul
now,
Feinbaum.
Fringe is in right now, but this is not.
Look at that.
That's Paul Feinbaum on SEC Nation.
And that was
First
a
of all,
tiny little tilt right there.
Yeah, you got to stay on for 8 seconds.
Be an
that
athlete.
thing was barely moving. So I don't understand the aggressive fall.
I'm not surprised. Feinbaum's not a
you
great
don't think he's an athlete?
No. Be an athlete.
Not here to defend himself. Well, guys, sometimes even when you do your job perfectly, things still don't end up all that great. And Jalen Watts-Jackson learned that the hard way after the game-winning touchdown against Michigan, Gene.
Sam, I'm not sure I can function after that Paul Feinbaum shot, but Jalen did have surgery at the University of Michigan Hospital in Ann Arbor. And before the surgery, doctors and nurses, depending on what their school affiliation was, would come up to him and said, "You broke my heart today, or you made my year." It is a play that Jalen has seen about 400 times. It is a play that had almost zero chance of success. But as it turned out, 0 was almost just plenty enough. What could make a grown man cry?
Oh my God! Let's go!
What could make a former Spartan star go nuts?
Oh, dang! Get a bite, see us!
A miracle could.
For 59 minutes and 50 seconds, they were beating us, and those last 10 seconds were ours. The biggest play, maybe in Michigan State history.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free! It's picked up by Jalen Watts-Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game! Unbelievable!
It's crazy how 10 seconds can change your whole life, change how people think of you.
Miracles are the product of desperation. And last Saturday against arch-rival Michigan, no team was more desperate than Michigan State.
You look at the seniors, a lot of them are like tears in their eyes, like the game was over.
We were going to put all 11 up and go for it, and if we roughed them, hey, we roughed them.
Wait, so like everybody's going to go, like everybody, all 11? He was like, yes, all 11, go get the ball.
11 became 10 when Michigan split out players to each side. That left just 8 blockers to keep 10 rushers from punter Blake O'Neal.
One of my teammates, he was talking to the snapper. If he messes snap up, everybody's going to hate you.
Bad snap! Ball!
I saw he botched the ball, and Matt Morrissey and I hit him at the same time.
He was able to hit his arm, and then the punter's arm hit the ball right to Jalen.
I just reached my hands out. This is the first time I ever touched the ball in a college football game, actually. After that, it was a blur, honestly.
Racing into the end zone! Are you kidding me? Touchdown, MSU! Touchdown!
It was a play for the ages. And it caught the attention of Gus Malzahn, whose Auburn team beat Bama with the fabled kick 6 in 2013.
It had the wow factor. There's no doubt that just happened.
And it definitely caught the attention of Cal's Kevin Moen, who plowed through the Stanford band in 1982.
Jalen, welcome to the club of big, miraculous plays. You'll have a great memory to take with you for the rest of your life.
Now, a redshirt freshman, third-string safety, joins the team photo of college football's fantastic finishes.
The legend, the man, he sort of found the spotlight there a little bit, and will go down as a memorable person in Spartan history.
The legend dislocated and fractured his hip when he was tackled. Recovery time from surgery, about 7 months.
For that to be the last play of my season, honestly, I'm content with that. I would do it all over again if the chance came.
Whenever you win a football game, I always feel a sort of sense of contentment. That day was a little bit more exciting, to say the least.
In a really classy gesture, Michigan cornerback Jordan Lewis reached out to Jalen, wished him well in his recovery, and said it was a great play. And Michigan State basketball coach Tom Izzo was actually at the game, but went up the tunnel right before that final play, Reese. So be honest, where were you, and did you think it was over?
Gene, this is one of the more embarrassing stories I have to share. I'm glad that I've got Izzo and the fellowship here. I left during the fourth quarter to catch a plane. And I know, no, you've got one too. I'm watching on my iPad. I think it's over when they don't get the first down. You run out the clock. I switch games. I hear an eruption in the terminal in the Detroit airport. My wife starts texting me, oh my God, did you see what happened? I scramble back. Crazy, I would have given anything because Tom Rinaldi and I were watching the game. Watch Jackson would have run right past us.
Oh,
no. We weren't there.
Unreal.
We weren't there.
Oh, my turn?
Yeah.
Well, I was
trying to forget.
I was on the field. No, I was checking Twitter.
Oh, okay.
I was on the field, and I watched the play develop. I had an eerie sense that something was going to happen as you watched that game. Just, just some of the officiating that was going on. The guy got ejected. It was just like a weird vibe, I guess. So as I watched the play unfold, I looked up at the clock. I saw the 0-0, game is over. I just beelined it to the tunnel and left. Felt disappointed for the team and obviously for the kid. Yeah. And I said, well, this kid, he's going to have to seek some therapy. And, he got some death threats, which are very, very unfortunate. But that was about the extent of it for me.
He's handled it great.
Yeah, I think he's handled it really. And Harbaugh did, too. And at the end of the day, it took a miracle to beat Jim Harbaugh in his first game against Michigan State.
Game day started in Ann Arbor where I was with you guys. And then Bear and I had a quick flight down to Columbus. We were calling the Ohio State-Penn State game. The greatest thing about my job is when game day gets done, we get on the bus and we watch college football on 5 TVs until we got to go call the Saturday night game. So we're sitting there watching every single snap of all the games at noon and then 3:30. We didn't miss a snap of the Michigan State game. Michigan State's driving. Looks like they might get a chance maybe to win the game. 4th down. They don't convert. Minute 47. Watched the whole game. Walked off the bus because I had to go out on the Ohio State field for the warm-ups. So I'm out on the warm-ups. James Franklin's at the 50-yard line, head coach of Penn State. Hey, you see that Michigan? What a great game. Michigan ended up beating Michigan State. He goes, did they hold on? And I go, yeah, it was an amazing finish. Michigan's defense prevented. And all of a sudden, the scoreboard was live and a jumbo screen, and they're showing the end of the game. And I'm looking at it. I'm thinking it's a replay, and I'm hitting him with my elbow like, did that just happen? He's hitting me like, is that live? And it was live in Ohio Stadium. Of course, they had some fun with it. It was live right there, and I'm reacting to seeing it after a while. I miss seeing it in the atmosphere that we were in. That's one of those moments you'll never forget where you were.
Let me tell you about a story. A devastating loss like this can help a team get better, stronger. It happened to me. 36 years ago, my Indiana team was beaten by Michigan on the last play on an illegal play. The team took it strongly, got stronger, and that loss helped Indiana win its first bowl game in the history of the school. I really believe the Michigan loss helped us develop a strong team to win that first bowl game.
I remember watching those Sunday highlights when that guy did that. That's absolute cheating. You know what? It's a moment where you'll never forget where you were, but now everybody has to bounce back from it, including Michigan State today. Michigan State taking on the Indiana team.
Yeah, they better be ready to play because we know that Indiana can score. Indiana's coming off a heartbreaking loss themselves last week against Rutgers. So you have one team that was disappointed, the other team that had euphoria that we just talked about. Michigan State needs to come back down to ground because Nate Sudfeld can throw the ball, and that's the area you really want to challenge the Spartans is in their secondary.
Penn State against Maryland. A little bad blood between these teams. Look, no handshakes a year ago, so make sure you keep him. Might get a little chippy. Christian Hackenberg, Penn State got to keep him upright. You know that Maryland's going to try to attack him, blitz him all day, but Perry Hills, the quarterback for Maryland, dual threat guy. This is going to be Maryland's first game since we saw Edsel do that.
Ohio State at Rutgers. J.T. Barrett getting the start at quarterback. In the last 2 games, Barrett has accounted for 9 touchdowns. He brings more of a running threat to Urban Meyer's offense. They've always been better with this type of running quarterback. He averages nearly 12 yards per carry on 3rd down. He also has been effective in the red zone in the passing game, too. So now, is this Ohio State offense ready to perform at the level we expect with Barrett at quarterback?
I think they will, and I think it's because of his skill set and what he brings to the table as a running quarterback. It fits Urban Meyer's scheme, and it puts defenses in a quandary because of the numbers. If you don't have enough numbers in the box, you got to deal with Zeke Elliott or J.T. Barrett running the football. This is last week where they didn't have the numbers in the box. It opens running lanes for Zeke Elliott, and if you get even committed and worried about number 15, you can deal with the zone read, and now you have J.T. Barrett running. And if you get really caught up, this is going back to last year, you get the numbers where you overlap and you say, you know what, we're not going to let him run. You leave yourself man-to-man on the outside, and now people forget J.T. Barrett can throw the ball, and that's Michael Thomas left one-on-one. And when you leave Michael Thomas or Jalen Marshall or Braxton Miller one-on-one, you're in trouble. So for Rutgers tonight, it's a combination of, do we overcommit against the run and leave yourself vulnerable one-on-one, or do you leave yourself, hey, we don't want to give up the big pass play, and then Zeke Elliott and J.T. Barrett can run right down the field.
I think the Buckeyes just snapped their pass to the title game. I think with J.T. Barrett, with his leadership and his all-around ability, he's going to take them all the way to the title game. Now listen, better late than never.
Yeah.
Better late than never. They're going to roll, and they're going to continue to roll all the way to the title game with him and quarterback.
It's a good decision. It should have been made earlier, like maybe against Virginia Tech. But you got this Urban Meyer, his quarterback carousel, the story that keeps on giving. I mean, man, we've been talking about this, I don't know, what, 32 straight weeks now?
Yeah, yes.
It's unbelievable. I think that JT should have been the starter from week 1. You know, to this kid's credit, he's been a guy who's handled this tremendously well. He's very mature. This kid was voted as a captain by his teammates before he was given the nod as a starter by his coaches. So that speaks volumes about how his team feels about him as a leader and as a person. So I think that JT should have been the starter from day 1. I don't think we learned anything new. My biggest question, Reese, is what took Urban Meyer so long to give this kid the nod? And why did he fight it so much? It seems like he kept giving them crumbs throughout the season, even though Cardale kept struggling. And then he said, okay, well, I'll put him in red zone in a short yardage. It's like, you know, so why did he keep fighting that? What was the deal made between Urban Meyer and Cardale Jones that he just watched him struggle, and you know you got this guy right here behind him who can get it done?
To be fair, JT struggled at times, too, when he was put in, but now he certainly played a lot better. Of late, Kirk's going to head up to Piscataway to join Chris Fowler and Heather Cox. Call the game 8 o'clock Eastern time on ABC. Coke Zero counting us down to kickoff on ESPN 2 in an hour. Mike Riley put up 48 against Minnesota. You know, Huskers could be getting better. Win probability, 2 of the 5 most unlikely losses of the season have been suffered by the Cornhuskers. They take on Northwestern ESPN 2 at noon. Now, you thought there was going to be a sleepy atmosphere in Sun Life Stadium. This is Clemson in Miami on ABC at noon.
Are we going to see a fist fight?
Yeah, I think so.
Come on, let's
People getting together.
Somebody slam.
Sharing stories, and then all of a sudden somebody said something about somebody's mama.
Yep.
And then here we go.
Now they're all coming in.
Yeah. Okay.
Less than an hour to kick off. That ought to liven up the festivities.
Get a few fans in there. We'll really have an atmosphere.
There we go, exactly.
Even if there's nobody there.
The Bears expecting a pretty good crowd.
It's a bad combo, a noon kick. That's so far from that camp.
Exactly. If you wanted to wake up Clemson, might be a way right now. In Miami, too. Still to come on College Game Day. Go behind the scenes at USC. They take on number 3 Utah. Clay Helton, the interim head coach, is wired.
Oh, that looks good. No! God almighty, how did that miss?
Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Kick off your drive with tires that return superior performance. Goodyear is more driven. Look at that scene. Sea of purple for this James Madison-Richmond showdown in Harrisonburg.
On ABC.
Our team says you're going to draw up a perfect area for game day. The quad at James Madison is it. It's time for the Game Day signs brought to you by Pizza Hut. Most signs per capita you've ever seen?
I think this
Exactly.
maybe a new record.
Yes, it's a new record.
Yeah.
It's good.
James Madison, you are the father of the Constitution. By the way, I have a copy of the Constitution right here. We'll dig at Richmond.
Look at that.
And private school. Oh, how about that? Daniel Murphy of the Mets.
Murph's back. Didn't throw that one in there, I think.
Yeah, the Mets fan.
A lot of Met representation. That's a good one. That sign has never been written.
That is true, exactly.
That is good.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
I can agree with that.
100%.
Oh, God.
Shout out to Van Lee, who's put up nearly, seems like an infinity in terms of number of yards. Oh, here comes our boy. Richmond quarterback Todd McShay. Getting beat up.
Unbelievable.
McShay said, that's not true. No one's ever stood me up.
How about the 3 Lees here?
I know.
Lee Fitting, our producer, a James Madison grad.
Oh.
And there's old Crimson. 171 consecutive game day appearances. Oh, they want it.
What if they upset Arizona? Is there a chance we could stumble out there next week?
Stanford's rolling to the Palouse.
Stanford,
Is there a shot?
State.
They win in Tucson?
No.
You don't see them win?
Oh, man, I tell you what, that happens.
ABC's got that game at night. There.
I don't know. Wait till you hear
that might be
super dog later on.
This is that strange weekend when things happen like that. So you never know.
Did you hear that?
Exactly.
One of those weekends.
One of those weekends.
You never know.
One game matching ranked opponents, and USC taking on third-ranked Utah. SC's not ranked anymore. Their 3 losses about as surprising as the Utes' rise. You know, according to ESPN's strength of record, going undefeated against the Utes' schedule is the second most impressive resume of the country. So how is it that FPI says the 3-3 Trojans have a 72% chance to win, and Vegas agrees? You know, I could probably bring out all of our algorithm people to explain the math, but instead I'd just rather listen to Coach when he reminds us sometimes somebody knows a little something. SC's hoping that somebody is Clay Helton, who's wired.
Here we go, here we go, here we go. Let's go, G technique. Good job, good job, good job. It's a dream come true to be able to operate and run a program here at USC, and having a lot of fun with it. I've seen these older guys have to go through sanctions, have to go through 4 head coaches. I'm the 4th, you know. So the biggest thing for me is for them to have a great experience, put an unbelievable team out on the field, and win for them. I thought I was going to have to give 82 oxygen yesterday. He was taking so many reps. Biggest thing is remember your hands, right? Hey, when I'm setting, it's right there. Don't get them low. I've been around a lot of great head coaches, and I pick the good things from them and carry them over. But at the end of the day, just make sure you're doing it your way, and it's what you believe in. Oh, yeah. How we doing, big horses? Big Taylor, how you feeling, bub? Oh, that looks good. No, God almighty, how did that miss? Your best practice of the year yesterday. Have another one.
Might need their best performance defensively of the year. Trojans have given up 4 straight 100-yard rushers. Utah seems to be the team you would expect to win. Why is everybody has to hop on the Utah bandwagon?
I think that's because the way that Utah have won some games at home, some big games, like against Michigan, against Cal, you know, they had multiple turnovers. Michigan threw 3 interceptions. One was a pick 6, but they only beat Michigan by 7 points. Cal, 5 interceptions, and they only beat Cal by 6 points. I think because they didn't win those games by double digits in a defiant way, like a statement game, I think some people are still not quite on the bandwagon with the Utes right now. They're a very physical defense. They play great on special teams. I don't think they're very explosive on offense. They're really good. Of course, Booker's a great running back, but I don't think they have that explosive threat. So I think that's the reason why USC is favored in this game. And I do know USC got explosive players all over the field, offense and defense. So I'm going to go with the Trojans.
Are you really?
Yes, sir.
Utah is 7-0 and number 3 in the nation.
Yes, they are.
But they're underdog to 3-3 SC.
That is true.
Now, somebody knows something, Kirk, that I don't know. But there's somebody could be wrong. I'm going with Utah in upset.
No.
Yes. Utah in an upset.
Really? But I always thought that line usually ends.
Yeah.
Somebody knows something I don't know. Well, I'm going with the somebodies.
I'm going against somebody.
I'm going against the somebodies.
Wow.
First time ever in 20 years. The one thing about USC and Clay Helton, you got to remember, even though they just lost to Notre Dame, if they do upset USC, and I still think it's an upset, if they knock off Utah in this game, all they need is a Utah loss somewhere down the road, and they could still make it to a Pac-12 championship game. It doesn't feel like that because they're 3-3, but they're talented enough to make that happen. The problem to me in this game is so much talk this week about how Utah's the underdog. Kyle Whittingham is the king at making his team show up with a chip on their shoulder. He doesn't even have to invent anything this week. I think Utah shows up with a kind of an attitude, a chip, feels disrespected. They find a way to get it done in the 4th quarter. The Bears been over there during our break.
Yeah.
That number was 3 or 3.5.
I was going to say,
now it's 6.5.
The somebodies are out, as you saw. This was a 3. Now that's a 6.
What does that mean?
A lot of somebodies think they know something.
Talk to me. What does that mean in layman's terms?
Yeah, that means that a majority of the people think that that number was a little too low and USC should win the game substantially. And our FPI, like Reese Memphis earlier, it says USC about an 8-point margin of victory in that game.
Put it on there at 3.5. I'm going to have to stick with it at 6. It worries me, though, a little bit. I'm with you on that because you know how the psychology plays. I'm going to go hesitantly and stick with USC and lay that
Sounds
number.
like you're hedging your bets there, Pat.
I am trying to hedge it, but I got to stick with it. Said it early in the week, said it this morning. But if SC plays the way they did the first 3 quarters last week, plays the way they did against Arizona State, can they do it? Exactly.
That's the key. That's the key.
I found out who the somebody is.
All of these years, you didn't know somebody. He's sitting right over there.
Right there. Right there next to me.
Wow. Now, 6.5-point favorite are the Trojans. Still the old adage of running and stopping the run. Utah can run. USC can't stop it. Still many people expecting the Trojans to win. Washington and Stanford. Jake Browning's going to be a game-time decision with his shoulder for UW. Wouldn't be surprised to see KJ Carter-Samuels. Washington can't stop the run. They're #1 in the Pac-12 at stopping running games, but can they control Christian McCaffrey, who David Shaw says has opened up the offense? He's ready for some serious football with Tom Luganville.
Well, Coach, you always want to be one moment ahead as you're looking through the series or the play or each and every week. But your players had a big week last week with a lot of explosive moments, exciting moments that have run on a reel on television. So how do you get this football team to stay in the current moment and not dwell on what happened last week?
Well, the big thing is I lean on our maturity. Our older players that have played in Rose Bowls, they've played in Pac-12 championship games, and had bad weeks also. So they know how to balance out that, not getting too high, not getting too low, and preparing for the next challenge that we have.
From a running back perspective, Christian McCaffrey's now really getting introduced to college football. Monster week a week ago, but we get accustomed to seeing the 2 and 3 tight end sets and the way you guys do things, which is a little bit unique. Not everybody's running the offensive game plan you guys are. What is it, though, about Christian that allows for him to maybe allow you guys to be a little bit different than you've been in the past from that position?
Well, the big thing is his versatility, being able to run the ball between the tackles like we typically have, but then also to get back outside and flip the ball back outside and then catch the ball out of the backfield or line up as a receiver outside or be a punt and kickoff returner. So that's a big thing with us is we've been able to move him around a lot, which also has helped our other running backs, Ramon Wright and Barry J. Sanders, make plays also because Christian could line up in the backfield or line up back outside. So it's given our offense a lot of versatility.
All right, Coach, thanks. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Tom, David, thank you. Stanford, a huge favorite to win the rest of its regular season games, according to FPI. You look at the rest of the schedule, Notre Dame is the 60% chance. What do you think of the way the Cardinals improved?
I think Desmond is right. Desmond had them at the very beginning. They could run the table. Stanford wins this game.
Yeah, I like Stanford to win this game. McCaffrey and Hogan right now, lethal combination.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Stanford's going to win by at least 3 big scores.
Big scores.
Yes,
okay, Des.
One of the biggest stories, you watched that first week for Stanford and then what you see now in the Cardinal plays, and Christian McCaffrey's been a revelation. He, too, deserves to be in the Heisman discussion with his performance as a rusher and also an all-purpose runner, returning kicks as well. Look at what is going on in Waco. The remnants of the Hurricanes had a system sort of just sitting over Waco. It's double-digit inches of rain. Seth Russell leading the FBS with 27 touchdown passes. How will that high-powered Baylor offense be affected by the rain? That is on ESPN at noon against Iowa State, and on ABC, clear skies for Deshaun Watson and Clemson against Miami. A little dust-up not too long ago between the Tigers and the Hurricanes. You'll see that on ABC in just under 41 minutes. And the Grove, the Land Sharks are out and ready, but will they have Robert Kimdichie against Texas A&M?
Look at the tents and the food. Are you kidding me? We could have been there, but it's better here.
It's going to be tough to beat that. Hotty Toddy ready to go, and look who's on his way. Country music superstar Dierks Bentley, courtesy of Wheels Up and the Pink King Air 350i in support of Breast Cancer Awareness Week. Wheels Up delivers Dierks Bentley to make the celebrity picks. I believe they hold these truths to be self-evident. It's maybe not right in James Madison's wheelhouse, but they've got a bill of rights here that they're going to support the Dukes. tremendous scene on homecoming at James Madison, FCS powerhouse, #3 in the country, taking on rival Richmond. Both teams have aspirations not only making the FCS playoffs, but advancing and perhaps winning the national championship. Coming up on the SEC network at noon Eastern time, Auburn and Arkansas. The Tigers, Ricardo Lewis had 154 receiving yards against Kentucky. Now, the two coaches in this game, sometimes they've been known to get in a little spat from time to time. Let's see if it carries over with some intensity between the Razorbacks and the Tigers. And one time, the darlings of the SEC, Ole Miss now controls its destiny, might be the favorite team of SEC haters, as we've mentioned. Win the conference, might keep the SEC out of the playoff. A&M trying to bounce back and keep pace in the SEC West, as everybody in that division is chasing LSU. Now, the marquee value of this matchup took a hit when both the Rebels and the Aggies got thumped last week. Still a matchup of ranked opponents, and there is a top 5 matchup in there of future draft choices. Laramie Tunsil returns from a 7-game suspension for Ole Miss, and waiting on him, Myles Garrett, a one-man wrecking crew for the Aggies, who Ole Miss hopes doesn't wreck their season.
As crazy as it sounds, we still have control of the SEC West. It's tough to think about after losing a game in Memphis, but it's definitely put some fire under it.
It's a tough game out there last week, and easiest way to put it behind is beating Ole Miss.
Now it's about competing in the Southeastern Conference and being relevant and who decides the championship.
Basically, we got the same record in the West that the team we lost to had. So a win here keeps us right in the thick of things.
Laramie Tunsil's back this week, might be the best player in the country at any position.
It's great to have Laramie back. They have some freaks on the D-line.
We feel like Laramie can hold his own in a one-on-one situation with most anyone.
I think he's one of the best tackles, probably offensive lineman in the FCC, if not the country. So he's going to present a lot of challenges for us, but I think it's going to be a great matchup, him against Myles.
Great matchup on paper, David. Garrett's 3rd in the country in sacks. How big a deal is it that Tunsil hasn't played? You could say he's fresh, or you could say he's rusty.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. We don't know yet, Reese, but I know it's nice to be at home against Myles Garrett, not have to play on the road. But this is the best matchup in college football this week, especially in the trenches, dude. Look at Laramie Tunsil. He's got the sweetest feet of any offensive tackle in college football. Look at this pitter-patter. Man, that's a guy that's 300-plus pounds. Yes, watch it again. I mean, it's unbelievable feet. He's the best pass-blocking offensive tackle that there is in college football, and he gets to go against one of the quickest and the best pass rusher in college football, Myles Garrett. Watch the football move. Watch how fast he is. Look at that. Nobody else has thought about getting off the ball yet. He's big and tall at 6'5", 255 pounds. This matchup is going to be so much fun to watch. Dez, I know you love the receivers and the corners and all those pretty boys. Those guys right there are going to make a lot of monies on Sundays, and this is a big showcase for them today.
Well, suffice it to say, someone's going to make some money today and someone's going to lose some money today. But who did you make a pick?
Usually you come back to me a little bit later, Dez, to make my picks. You're going to have to wait. You're going to have to hold off a little bit, Dez.
For the A&M game? Okay.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
Okay. Sure. Well, I think that you're right. I think that matchup is one matchup to look at. I just think that A&M's defense as a whole, I think this group is going to have to respond better, play better. I don't have a lot of confidence in Ole Miss's offense, even with the addition of Tunsil. I just don't think Chad Kelly and that offense can get a running attack going. So I believe that Deshaun Hall and Myles Garrett, they're going to pin their ears back. Hey, Tunsil can't block both of them. Don't forget, they have 2 fantastic ends. I think that A&M will win because of their defense.
Yeah, I think for Ole Miss to win this football game, their defense has got to get back to being that land shark defense that we saw a year ago. One of the best in tackling in the open field, and one of the best in 3rd down. This is against Florida, 3rd and 3, right? This is Ole Miss defense. This is what they did last year. Make a play in the open field. Lets him get by, picks up a 1st down. You know why little things like that are important? The very next play against Florida, after converting on 3rd down, they go deep. Now look at the safety. He's in good position, doesn't locate the football. Again, something they did last year every single week. Here's another 3rd down against Florida. They're going to blitz. They're going to play man-to-man against the Gators. It's one thing to get beat. It's another thing to miss a tackle. The safety here takes a poor angle in C.J. Hampton, and the Gators, instead of just picking up the 1st down for about a 5-yard, 6-yard gain, he goes all the way to the end zone. So if you're Dave Womack, who's one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, he's got to be looking at this and realizing that Kyle Allen last week threw some interceptions. he'll get creative. But these Ole Miss players are making a lot of plays last year. They've had a lot of injuries, some inexperience out there. They've got to step up and give themselves a chance to be able to make plays and win.
Who do you like?
I like Ole Miss at home to play.
Not so fast, my friend. Special.
Wait for that.
Wait for that. A&M has a lot going for them in this game. Number one, aggressive defense. They've had forced a turnover in 10 straight games. Superstar Christian Kirk. This kid's a great player. And A&M has beaten Ole Miss 6 out of 7 times. So make it 7 out of 8. Texas A&M upset in the Valley, upset in the Grove.
So we do pick this game.
Well, yeah,
now.
but
Okay.
Pollock wanted you to be able to digest all of the information. So now, David, give me a quick pick.
Let's circle back to David.
Who wins it, Texas A&M, Ole Miss?
I needed some help, Des. I wanted to hear everybody's picks and their plays. I think this is the kind of game that A&M wins. They don't like seeing the Bamas and the Arkansas when you run right at them, but like Des talked about pass rushing with Hall and Garrett, I think it's enough. I don't think Ole Miss is physical enough up front to run the football. I think A&M bounces back with a big W.
So I'm all alone here.
Yeah, maybe
so.
Yeah.
I'm all alone. I got Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Wow. Laramie Tunsil back. Robert Conyers out. Brad Kaya, he's taking care of the ball lately for Miami. Needs to be a little better on third down, Miami. And Clemson inside a half hour until kickoff. And our Coke Zero countdown to kickoff, that's on ABC at noon. On ESPN at noon, Iowa State at Baylor. Look at the downpour and people trying to shield themselves from it. I don't know that the pictures do it justice of how it's raining in Waco. We'll have a live report from Shannon Spank, who's at McLean Stadium for the second-ranked Bears, who will have to weather both the Cyclones, figuratively or literally, I guess, but the team name Cyclones, and this flooding that's going on there, too. We urge people to take cover, and now we got the Home Depot Game Day tailgate. Watch your step and bring the food. Come on up. What is that?
Wow. I got some buttermilk biscuits.
All right.
Some briskets, pork belly with pimento cheese grits.
You got
good food.
You got any jam?
Yeah, taste the Harrisonburg for you.
What's that?
Bear, just some bread.
Pick 5 second. Hey, the Bears got the 5-second rule. Pick it up and eat it. Hey, get that brisket over here. I'll intercept that brisket. Back on College Game Day, it's time now for the AT&T strong performance, and this guy delivers strong performances virtually every week. Deshaun Watson of Clemson, over 450 yards of offense against Boston College last week. He'll lead the Tigers against the Hurricanes coming up at noon on ABC. And the Clemson defense, since the start of last season, has been spectacular. All of these numbers best in the nation. They lost a ton. They lost a ton of guys up front, but Shaq Lawson has replaced a lot of the production from Vic Beasley and company as we check in now with Todd McShay, who will be covering that game today.
Coach, your quarterback, Deshaun Watson, is a dynamic weapon, but what specifically are you looking for from him against this Miami defense today?
Oh, just continue to do what he's done all year and, lead us. Get us in and out of the, get us in the right play, get us out of a bad play, extend plays with his legs, make the throws down the field. He's been very smart all year long, making good decisions, but, just continue to do what he's done. He doesn't have to be anything spectacular, just execute the play.
Defensively, how do you balance between trying to get pressure on Brad Kaya, the Miami quarterback, and also making sure that you're sound in coverage?
Yeah, well, this is a coverage game. They're a pass-first team. Not that they don't want to run it, but they want to pass to set up the run. So a little different than maybe what we've seen most of the year. But we've got a good plan. We feel good about our matchup from a coverage standpoint. But at the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to. This quarterback is really good. He's very aware, very poised in the pocket. He's a scrambler to throw. And so, our guys up front winning that matchup and affecting him hopefully will allow us to make some plays from a coverage standpoint.
Thanks, Coach. Have a good day.
I really tried to hide McShay, but it turns out you just can't hide him. No. Former Richmond quarterback, not popular here at James Madison. Oh, now that's a shot now.
That is a shot.
You know what that is?
Was it true?
That's 15 yards, targeting, and an ejection. Don't you think?
Yeah.
That's tough.
That's not cool. That's not cool.
You know,
some people love it. About nastiness in the rivalry. How about Wayne Gallman?
Well, we talk so much about Watson. Gallman is really what gives them balance, and Miami's going to have to be aware of him, especially with Raphael Kirby out. Deshaun Watson's amazing, guys. Think about he had ACL surgery in December. He's 10 months out of removed from a surgery, and he's playing the way he is right now. Command of that offense, running and throwing, and they really unleashed him from the Notre Dame game on, and with his ability to run and make plays.
Artavis Scott, one of the big play threats for Clemson on the outside. They've had some injuries at receiver with Mike Williams.
And with Mike Williams down, Artavis Scott's become clearly their go-to guy. He'll get some one-on-one opportunities. Miami leaves their corners alone. They'll get Deion Bush up close to the line of scrimmage, leave their corners, Corn Elder and company alone, which will give Scott an opportunity. Bush is kind of the heart and soul, especially with Kirby down. Bush is going to have to step up.
How about Brad Kaya? I mean, you know, he leads the ACC in passes per game, 299 yards per game through the air. I think that he's such a poised young man, really impressed last year as a true freshman. He has great awareness on the field, takes good care of the ball, does not turn the ball over. It's going to be interesting to see him go up against Deshaun Watson. And Stacey Coley is one of his top weapons. I don't know if Stacey Coley has the speed to blow the lid off a defense, but he's athletic enough, fast enough that he can make some plays out there in space. They're going to need him today, too, against that. Probably the best secondary they faced all year when you look at the Clemson Tigers defense.
Kickoff in about 21.5 minutes on ABC. Now in Waco, Seth Russell and Baylor, that prolific Bear offense. He leads the nation, averaging more than 18 yards per completion. So Iowa State and Baylor, they're going to kick off on time at McLean Stadium in Waco. But we've been showing you the images throughout the morning of the deluge of rain that they're suffering in the Waco area. There have been some road closures. Iowa State was delayed getting to the stadium. Shannon Spate now joins us now. Shannon, we've tried to do it justice by showing the video. What is it like with the weather in Waco now?
Well, Reese, we stepped out of the tunnel to do this live shot with you so we could, full effect here with the rain coming down. We've been told that the lightning is going to stay away from the Waco area throughout the game. They don't expect lightning to be an issue, but rain will continue throughout the entire game. The wind kind of comes and goes, so that hasn't been a real issue. Watching the guys warm up, they're having a blast out there, running around, dancing to music, having a good time. Both of these teams are not used to playing in poor weather. I spoke with Paul Rhodes as well as Art Briles. Rhodes said that this week they did do some wet ball drills when they were back at Iowa State just to prepare. They've been talking about it all week. Briles, on the other hand, they did not do any wet ball drills, and he told me this morning they don't really know what to expect. They're going to go out there and they're going to adjust when they have to, just based on what the weather shows them. But obviously, equipment managers, Reese, are ready to go with extra socks, extra jerseys, gloves for the receivers. So it'll be all about comfort and just keeping these guys as comfortably as they can for 4 quarters.
And Shannon, certainly Baylor is noted for their passing attack, but the Bears have been able to run the football extraordinarily well. I mean, look at Shock Linwood. He's averaging 134 yards per game. Wonder if he might get a few more.
Yeah, he'll get more opportunities today. But
exactly.
With this rain, you think about, boy, what is it going to do to Baylor? What's it going to do to Iowa State trying to respond to man coverage against Coleman and company? So if Seth Russell can hold on to the ball, he will find Coleman. And trying to be in a corner on a dry field and staying with Coleman's tough enough. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a slick field. I would be shocked. It comes down to Russell and how he holds on to the ball. And if he can deal with the conditions, I think Baylor doesn't get slowed down at all today.
How about Big Sean Oakman, too? It's an opportunity for him to just put an offensive lineman on some skates. It's going to be probably bad footing out there. A guy like that can probably take advantage of opportunities. If they drop back to pass, watch out for Oakman sacking the quarterback today.
Is it possible to look any better in a uniform?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, that may be it right there. If you're a defensive lineman and you're an offensive guard or tackle and you break the huddle and you look over at number 2.
If you want to, bring out some new uniform and you want to model the uniform,
that's the guy.
Put him on that guy's body, exactly.
He has to pull down that crop top lest he incur the wrath of the NCAA. But that's
crazy.
Time the game starts. Seth Russell, he's been a dual threat guy. Anybody that Art has a quarterback can throw it, but he put on a show with his legs last week.
Pretty much, it's a new college football season. You look up who's the Baylor quarterback and get ready. He's going to put up some ridiculous numbers, and this year it's Seth Russell.
On the SEC Network at noon, Sean White, the freshman, gets another start for Auburn against Arkansas. They'll kick off in just over 18 minutes. Auburn is 1-5 in its last 6 SEC games. Arkansas 3-20 in their last 23 SEC games. This is one the Razorbacks need. Peyton Barber, Auburn hasn't had as many big plays we're accustomed to seeing.
They just don't have that. They're still trying to find that rhythm. White has come in, and at least they've avoided some of the disastrous plays that they had earlier with Johnson. But Barber has been kind of a solid back for them. I think Brandon Allen, again, we associate Arkansas with physicality, and they're going to run the ball. If the Hogs beat Auburn today, it's going to be because Allen throwing the ball.
And he's going to have to do it without yet another receiver, as JoJo Robinson is suspended from the game. Kickoff coming up in about 17 and a half minutes. 13 years ago, Coach took on the persona of one of America's founding fathers when Gameday visited Penn. Could we see it again? James Madison at his very own university. Headgear time is coming, and Wheels Up delivering our celebrity guest picker on the breast cancer awareness pink plane. Dierks Bentley. We'll see if he can get in tune with some winning picks, and he'll make his way off the bus and come up to the set here in Harrisonburg. A popular guy, one of the big superstars in country music. Dierks Bentley and Corso's Headgear when you come back.
Game day signs are delivered by Pizza Hut. Check out this week's Pizza Hut sign up for game day winners. Send us your best signs using hashtag sign up for game day for your chance to win free pizza for a year. Day is built by the Home Depot. You can find grills, charcoal, coolers, and all other tailgating supplies at your local Home Depot. And in part by Chevrolet. Find new roads.
I think the energy at James Madison going to fuel the blimp today. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Kick off your drive with tires that return superior performance. Goodyear, more driven. Keep gathering on the quad. On homecoming at James Madison, they take on Richmond. It's just continued to burgeon and grow as the 3 hours of game day is unfolded. And not for 1 second has the intensity waned, but now they're waiting to get a super dog from you, Herbie.
Well, let's go with some upsets here. I'm going to say Washington State over Arizona.
No!
This is a football team that can make plays. They can throw it around. Luke Falk today has a big day, and who knows, if they win, maybe game day goes out to the
Oh, no, we can't do that. How about Wake Forest over NC State? Listen, Wake Forest played D very well against Florida State. Even though they lost the game, do not count them out. And they played against BCU. Nice win. I think they got a little confidence. And I got to give a shout out to my man CP3.
This is for Lee Corso. Pitt is undefeated in ACC play, but this game is played in a dome. Syracuse is tough at home, and it's homecoming. Nobody loses homecoming.
Coach is something special booked up. That's why he's not with us right now. My super dog, I was mocked for trying to take Vanderbilt, so I'm going to go with Bill Cubitt in Illinois and home over Wisconsin. Wisconsin's not running the ball the way they historically have, and I think that the Illini will be able to spring the upset. Cubitt's done a really nice job.
Interesting.
Now let's take a look at our Saturday selections brought to you by Chevrolet. You see the empty chair, a little something special. And you're very popular here. Dierks Bentley joining us.
Thanks, man. Great to be here. I actually played a gig here 12 years ago to the day.
Come on.
I played a show here 12 years ago to the day. I played a place here called The Pub, and it's since closed due to illegal activities and money laundering. Like a lot of the bars.
But you were not involved in it.
Like a lot of the bars I played back in the early days. They're since closed. I played 12 years ago to the day, so it's great to be back.
And was the crowd about the same size then?
It was about 500 people, but this is a little bigger. But they're just as loud. Just as loud.
They'd be ready to see you go this time. We'll see Corso do his deal coming up in just a few moments, but let's start with our Saturday selections. Kansas State and Texas. Bill Snyder apologized to his fans after Oklahoma. Who wins it, Des?
Really disappointing loss to Oklahoma. I thought Oklahoma would beat them, but not that bad. I think they exploited Kansas State. I think Texas would win a close one against Kansas State.
Dierks?
I mean, you got some of the greatest bars in Austin, Texas. Got the Continental Club.
All
You
about
gotta
the
go there.
bars.
Curls Mexican food is unbelievable. I gotta go with Texas on this one.
There you go.
Good pick. Good pick. Texas, they're confident after the Oklahoma win by 2 field goals and a safety.
Now he's doing a Corso.
That's good.
He's doing Corso.
I'm going to say that Gerard Hurd, scrambling around, so athletic. And how about Dante Freeman, this young back from Texas, the way he ran against Oklahoma? I think Texas is on to something right now on offense. I'm going with the Longhorns.
Who's not onto something right now is Northwestern. Dropped a couple in a row on ESPN2 in a few minutes against Nebraska. Who wins it?
It seems as though the Michigan game took a lot of life out of Northwestern. They just haven't looked the same. I think that Nebraska's going to win a close one. I got Nebraska.
Yeah, I'm going with Nebraska on this one, too. A lot of memories of watching them play the Fiesta Bowl back in the day growing up in Arizona. So I've always had a good soft spot for Nebraska.
You're on to something here. That's good. Good pick. I'm going to say Nebraska for Lee says finally they win a close one by a field goal. All right. For me, I think you guys are right. It's if of all the teams in the country, Nebraska has been a football team that's lost 4 games by a combined 11 points.
Yeah.
This is the game they finally were able to turn their fortunes around. I like Nebraska to beat Northwestern.
I like that dual role thing you're doing like that.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying to keep
it's like an Eddie Murphy movie or something.
Don't worry, he spends a lot of time talking to himself. Clemson and Miami coming up on ABC.
You know, I just think that Deshaun Watson is a special talent, and I was concerned with him after the knee surgery, but in the Notre Dame game, he showed that he can run again. He's comfortable running the ball. So I think Deshaun Watson and Clemson will beat Miami.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Clemson, too. I guess in this series, the team playing on the road has actually won the last 4 games in this series, so we'll stick with that theory and go with Clemson.
Country music, huh? This guy knows what he's talking about. That's what he says, right?
Yeah,
he just throws something out like
exactly
that.
right.
I'm reading it right on. It's exactly Clemson wins in overtime by a field goal. That's what LC says. I think the difference in this football game, this could be probably the best game of the day outside of JMU and Richmond. This will be the best game of the day.
Nice.
Is third down defense. Clemson's third down defense and Deshaun Watson. That'll be the difference. 4-quarter game. Tigers find a way to win it late.
Also in the ACC, perhaps a trouble spot, Florida State against Georgia Tech.
You know, Georgia Tech's defense, they're just awful against the run. I think Dalvin Cook will have about 207 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. I like Florida State by 17 points.
Yeah, definitely like Florida State in this one. I've had good memories of playing with some bars in Florida State. The Moon, great country bar. We got the Tabernacle and the Variety Playhouse in Atlanta, but I got to go with FSU on this one.
I like your thinking. I like your logic. Lee says Florida State finally turns the ball over because they don't have a turnover on offense.
That's right.
Finally turns it over, but wins a close one. He's always trying to coach up Florida State. I'm with Dez. I'm picking Florida State because of Dalvin Cook. Let's hope that the hamstring holds up for him. And I also think this defense, Charles Kelly, who used to be on Tech's sidelines, now with Florida State. Georgia Tech moved the ball at will last year in the ACC championship game. Not this time. I think Florida State's defense is ready for him. I'm dealing with this, and this.
Exactly right.
I mean, I got a lot going on right now.
You got to handle the pressure of the quarterback, right? That game's on ESPN2, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Let's stay in the ACC. Duke and Virginia Tech.
I got Duke. I think Duke's going to win a close one. I think Virginia Tech will battle, but I got Duke in a close one.
I'm going to go with Virginia Tech in this one. Their quarterback's back. I feel like it's going to be Virginia Tech.
Okay.
Who are you going with?
Virginia Tech.
Not so fast.
Duke stays unbeaten in the ACC. Upset. That's what he has. You know, this Duke's defense, it doesn't get a lot of notoriety, but their defense has been unbelievable. I think their defense will be tough against Virginia Tech and lead them to a victory. I'm going with the Dukies.
USC and Utah. Utah's the highest ranked team to be an underdog to an unranked opponent in about 20 years. Yeah. The Trojans get it done.
I think so. I think USC will win this game because they will not turn the ball over. Cody Kessler will play at a high level. They got too many weapons all over the field. So I got USC to beat Utah.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bear on this one, too. He likes USC. And, I was going back and forth what you were saying earlier. I think Utah is probably getting a little bit of a chip on their shoulder now that everyone has been writing them off, even though they're an undefeated team. But I still think USC just is a stronger team.
Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast, my friend. All he wrote here is Utah upset. So we put that down there. I'm going with Utah. It has everything to do with the psychological attitude that this football team shows up with. USC is athletic, physically probably a better team than Utah, but Utah is kind of a team that will show up and play 4 quarters. Can SC play 60 minutes against a very determined Kyle Whittingham team? I'm going with Utah finding a way to win that one.
From determined teams to somewhat desperate teams, Texas A&M and Ole Miss tonight on ESPN 7 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, desperate is right. I think that the Aggies, after being just embarrassed a week ago by Alabama, will bounce back against Ole Miss. I got the Aggies in a pretty convincing victory.
Yeah, this one's a tough one for me. I think about Ole Miss, one of the greatest live on-campus BYOB venues. I mean, the Grove is one of the funnest places you can possibly play.
Special place.
You got Hurricane Harry's over, in College Station, one of the most fun bars you can play. So it's a tough one for me.
Tough one.
My mind says the Aggies with Myles Garrett, but I'm going to go with Ole Miss in my heart. So.
Going with the Grove.
Yeah.
This is Texas A&M, so it's another nuts. You guys got a lot of nuts so fast, my friends.
Sorry about that.
He's just going to say upset in the Grove. I'm going to look at this, and I think that Chad Kelly and big plays through the air. I think Laquan Treadwell has a big game. Cody Core. I think Ole Miss is able to come back home, even after that loss last week to Memphis. They got humiliated. I think they show up a little bit more determined today. And they still control their own destiny in the SEC. I like Ole Miss.
And that is the only game at the FBS level that features a matchup of ranked opponents. But we have one here in Harrisonburg as well, too. James Madison taking on Richmond. James Madison is the only undefeated FCS team with a victory over an FBS opponent. Playoff positioning is important. Conference chase is important. Bragging rights, the most important when the Dukes and Spiders clash.
This is a big game. This will be the biggest game in the state this weekend. There are a lot of kids that played on same high school teams and against each other.
I was recruited out of high school slightly from JMU. They didn't show me a lot of attention. That gives me some ammunition to play even better.
This is our biggest rival. You get a little more amped up for games like this.
They're going to talk about this game like it was yesterday, even if it's 20 years from now.
Well, this is more us trying to reestablish ourselves as a legitimate contender here on the national scope.
We are in control of our own fate, and we believe that Saturday is another step to reaching our goals.
Desmond, James Madison or Richmond?
Well, I know we got to hurry up and get to the skip. I must say, I like Richmond's helmets. I know my sons, Demir and Desmond, like, man, can you bring that helmet home? I'm going with JMU. Just too much offense. They were explosive on offense. I got JMU in a big win for homecoming.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not obviously going with JMU. No, this is special for me. When I heard that College Game Day was coming to JMU and thinking about how the fact that I played here 12 years ago to the day, it's a special day here in Harrisonburg. So definitely going for JMU.
Kirk, what do you have?
Well, we'll get to the Sunshine Score in a second. I just like to say that this is what, to me, makes College Game Day so special. A tip of the cap to Lee Fitting and all the decision makers on sending us to these kind of shows, because you can see college football and the passion for the game is everywhere at every single level. I think this is going to be a great game. You have such contrast in styles, the physicality in a run game and defense, and getting turnovers for Richmond and scoring in bunches for JMU. How could we come here and pick against JMU? I'm going with dude right here. Victory.
That is the pick.
Showtime.
That's the pick they love.
Where is
Herb Street did an unbelievable job in the dual personalities. You sat in for Coach Well, but there is only one Lee Corso. Where is Lee Corso?
Wow. Wow.
The father of the Constitution.
I, James Madison, declare to you, the American people, the Dukes have nothing to fear today but fear itself. I predict a Dukes victory today over the Richmond Spiders. God bless the Dukes, and God bless the United States of America.
And there you have it.
That's something, man.
What a day
Still got the wave, by the way. Look at the right hand.
Outstanding.
What a great day to be an American.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yes.
Corso for president. Following in the footsteps of James Madison. Rainy Waco for Baylor and Iowa State coming up. Bob with shoes and Brock Hewitt and Shannon Spade are standing by. The Duke Dog wearing the headgear. God bless James Madison and the United States of America. It's all yours, Bob.